people. Ah, look at all the lonely people. Eleanor Rigby picks up the rice in the church where a wedding has been. Lives in a dream, waits at the window, wearing the face that she keeps in a jar by the door. Who is it for? All the lonely people. Where do they all come from? All the lonely people. Where do they all belong? Father Mackenzie, writing the words to a sermon that no one will hear. No one comes near, look at him working, counting his socks in the night when there's nobody there. What does he care? All the lonely people, where do they all come from? All the lonely people, where do they all belong? Ah, look at all the lonely people. Ah, look at all the lonely people. Eleanor Rigby died in the church and was buried along with her name. Nobody came, Father Mackenzie, wiping the dirt from his hands as he walks from the grave. No one was saved, all the lonely people. Where do they all come from? All the lonely people. Where do they all belong?
Salutations, lovebirds and hopeless romantics. Welcome to Podcaster Storm, where bleeding hearts, soulful poets, and all-around sad sacks come to talk and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the nerdy occultist, aka the authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Hello, folks. We are the aforementioned lonely people.
And hopefully our second co-host, the primordial source of evil in comics, Corrupt, will be joining us sometime during this broadcast. And I am your host / Time Lord Wannabe, the brainstormer of pop culture. How is everyone doing tonight?
Aside from the Valentine's Day, dear God, you're going to die alone feeling, you mean? I'm fine.
And from that depressing note, let us... Well, actually, I got nothing. Right.
Also, it's Oscar night, not that anybody gives a shit, but it will be interesting to see how things shake out for basically the movie that is the mascot for this channel at this point, which is Joker.
Yeah.
Especially given Birds of Prey is Birds of Preying currently, and that's...
No, funny enough, I do think that is our second mascot. In terms that we've been riffing on it for months now. Maybe
Yeah,
a year at least.
well, as I mentioned in the time when we were off air, Birds of Prey is kind of the anti-Joker, so it fits that we would spend several months anticipating Joker and several months riffing off of the impending doom of Birds of Prey.
We will get there, folks. We got a journey before we get there.
Yeah. We got a show to do, and on with the show.
Right. Okay, so since last week was the Super Bowl during our time, well, the day before our time, we decided to grab like 2 of the spots that were done.
Mm-hmm. Since for geeks, the only reason why the Super Bowl even matters is because all the entertainment and pop culture happens because Super Bowl commercials.
Right. Give me one moment. Okay. So the first one we've been watching is the Marvel Studios Black Widow Big Game Spot. It's 30 seconds long, so we'll pretty much breeze right through it.
Yep. Banana.
Motherfucking banana.
You don't know everything about me. The Avengers weren't my first family. At some point, we all have to choose between what the world wants you to be.
Yeah, no, this looks really good. It does invoke a lot of like classic kind of spy thriller movies.
Yeah. Like female Jason Bourne meets female John Wick almost, kind of.
I was gonna say female James Bond, but technically I already got one of those, and no one's really interested in that.
We're getting one of those, and it looks like an absolute travesty because rather than just have a female character, they insist on making her a feminist character.
Weird thing is, when I see the trailer for No Time to Die, it seems more like they're just rivals, like the old versus the new.
It seems that way, but it also seems like they're going to spend a significant proportion of the movie shitting on James Bond, which
Maybe it's just
far be it from me, but I don't think we should spend 90% of James Bond shitting on James Bond.
maybe it's just me, but I do the whole I don't really see the whole political feminist bullshit until it's like really pointed out to me. So yeah, that's just it. Funny enough, someone did like the James Bond trailer for No Time to Die in the style of Black Widow.
Mm-hmm.
The first Black Widow trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, that seems like a better trailer for James Bond.
Well, because Marvel actually seems to know what the fuck they're doing mostly, whereas the people who were currently in charge of James Bond haven't made an enjoyable James Bond movie since Casino Royale.
Again, that's an agree to disagree thing, but okay.
I hated the vast majority of the Daniel Craig era. Where are the gadgets? Where is the pulpiness? Where is the reminder that this was based on a series of pulp novels in the early 1900s?
Fair enough. That's a fair point. That's a very good fair point. Yeah, but this looks really good. I like how it looks. It has it just looks very different from every other Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Even Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Although Winter Soldier is probably the closest, I would say, which that was kind of going for like an espionage thriller too, so that makes kind of sense.
Yeah, but I don't know why, but it seems better than Winter Soldier, and you will obviously agree with me, Don, because I know you don't really like Winter Soldier that much.
Well, yeah, it's not that I don't like Winter Soldier, it's that I feel like Winter Soldier kind of lost its soul somewhere along the way. And I think it's the weakest of the Captain America movies. But that being said, the Captain America movies are so far the best and most consistent movies in the MCU. So
yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, no, I like this. I like how it looks. One has color, even if it's not even that desaturated, to be honest, like from other Marvel movies.
Yeah, no, Marvel appears to finally have figured out how to use color, except in a ordinary quote unquote context, rather than just saving all the color for when we're in outer space. Not that I mind there being color in outer space. It's just like also Lovecraft joke imminent because color in space, lol. But it is annoying that every street level Marvel movie is dingy and gray and kind of just bland, whereas space is big and colorful. So
it works for some, like Daredevil and Jessica Jones. It's fine.
I think it mostly worked in Civil War because it was a political thriller that was a civil war, so that worked. But like, there's
Right.
there's no reason why the temples of the mystic arts in Doctor Strange, for example, had to be generic sort of bronze colored everything instead, as opposed to, I don't know, taking inspiration from the incredibly beautiful temples that are actually in China and the eastern countries. Just saying. But that's a side
Um,
rant for another day because it's me and I do my thing. Anyway, banana.
yeah, I think banana.
Now you are.
I do like that. The kind, um, you know, the kind of theme that's running throughout, that's always been with Black Widow, is who you were forced to be is not who you are.
Mm. I also like kind of the continued theme of figuring out where you belong and why kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Though I'm kind of scared in a little sense,
How come?
in terms of a character thing. Not like bad thing. It's more of because this is a prequel and it takes place after Civil War, right?
Yeah.
Okay. There's no mention of her first family, and I get that could just be a writing thing. But
Mhm.
what if, like this is theory here, a fan theory.
Mm-hmm.
What if in this movie, all her like her Black Widow family is killed?
Yeah, that does seem to be the kind of route I think they would go.
And I think
Like,
it also kind of works with Natasha.
yeah,
Like I figure like her family would die protecting her, or at least protecting
yeah.
each other as a family would.
And then she survives and goes off and does what she does in Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does seem to be the most sensible route they could go with this, unless they use this movie to set up a second Black Widow, one that's not Natasha,
Hmm. We'll just have to
which
wait and see.
which would be an interesting way of continuing the franchise, even though we know that Natasha herself dies. Although, if we don't get at least one Black Widow movie that explains what the fuck Clint and Natasha were referring to in regards to Budapest, I'm rioting because we
Yeah.
need to know what happened in Budapest. Goddammit!
Or
What
how they
happened
at
in
least
Budapest?
met.
Hmm?
Or at least how they met.
Yeah, like, and it's the perfect excuse to do that thing that Marvel likes to do post Thor Ragnarok and have other characters cameo in a movie. Like, hello, Black Widow Hawkeye movie, anyone? Like, it literally almost writes itself.
Um, you know what's it's funny because you remember all like the feminists going on about how like because like how people were like talking bad about like Birds of Prey, and then like they were saying like Black Widow's going to get worse or next.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I really don't think so. I think if anything, this looks like the next Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And part of me hopes that this movie makes more money than Captain Marvel did, just so we can rub it into their faces and like, this is how you do a female character. That may be how you do a feminist character over in Captain Marvel, but how you actually do a female character, one that people like and shit, is this.
Right. So yeah, Black Widow coming out May 1st. Wait, didn't we start the podcast in May?
March.
March. Oh.
And because there are 52 weeks in a year, which means 2 weeks from next week, we will have officially been doing this for an entire year. and pause for apparently dramatic silence.
That actually, wow. Wow.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So moving on to the next one.
The weird part is how it doesn't really even feel like a year. It both feels like we've been doing this a lot longer and like we just started. So,
Yeah,
mhm.
super weird. All right, so our next one, which is again 30 seconds long, this is the big game spot, Marvel Studios Disney Plus. So this is giving you a kind of look at the other series on Disney
Yeah.
Plus coming up.
The tie-in mini series is for the MCU. So WandaVision, Loki, Winter Soldier, Falcon, She-Hulk. Although I don't think She-Hulk makes an appearance. I think
No, it's just WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki. And for the record, Loki is apparently like the splitting
he's
the
also in
splitting
a
timeline
timeline
from Endgame.
from Endgame.
Yeah.
The one that escaped with the Tesseract.
Which is I have my issues with simply because I had watched this video talking about the journey of Loki and how like his character development came to an end in Infinity War, and it was really beautiful and perfect and stuff.
I have logical issues with that because the time travel in that movie just completely is fucked in the head.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I hate the time travel thing too. Simply on a logical, simply on a logic thing, an internal continuity.
Mm-hmm. And why do I care about this version of Loki when he's the asshole version before Loki got any meaningful character development?
Yeah. But Winter Soldier and the Falcon and WandaVision look interesting. Specifically, WandaVision.
Yeah, WandaVision is the one I'm looking forward to, and not just because it's the Scarlet Witch series tying into Doctor Strange, although I will say that makes me extremely optimistic for Doctor Strange too, because WandaVision looks so fucking good.
Yeah, we'll get into it after we've watched it. I'm just right. Banana.
Banana.
It's time. Wanda, welcome home.
Vision residents.
I'm gonna burn this place to the ground.
Well, Tom Hiddleston is hamming it up.
Well, Loki is gonna Loki, and Loki is the trickster god, so yeah. Honestly, I honestly would like to ask Odin, Thor, and Loki, like the actual entities, what they think of their portrayals in the Marvel Universe. And in the context where gods draw power from people's like knowledge of them and belief in them, how much power do you think they derive just from the ravenous fanboys of the MCU? But yeah, though in particular, I'm interested in the WandaVision bits because, of course, apparently the concept is after the events of Infinity War and Endgame, she lost her mind so badly that she basically put herself into a magical coma and created an alternate reality for herself.
Well, for one thing, it seems like it's parodying a bunch of different, different decades and eras of sitcoms.
Yeah. Specifically, the bit we just saw is parodying the Dick Van Dyke Show. And the point being is classic sitcoms are all always very optimistic and pure, and everything is good and decent, and everything wraps up in a nice little bow with moral lessons, and everything is perfect in about the space of 30 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, no, when she wakes up, shit's going to hit the fan, but good, I think. But I like Wanda just for being this much of a classic sitcom nerd, honestly. And like it reminds me a lot of the movie Pleasantville, which personally for me, living in a kind of sitcom would be probably the scariest and most frustrating thing ever, because my whole thing is I don't give a fuck about norms or conforming to any kind of societal standards. So I would probably die in sitcom universes or be the villain, which I suppose I would be fine with. And I do already have the mustache for it and the top hat for it. So yeah, I guess I'm a sitcom villain, if anything.
You actually wouldn't believe this. I actually tried to write a sitcom once, years ago.
That doesn't surprise me. You're pretty prolific in terms of your writing interests. What was the stick?
Saying it now makes me feel like an idiot. Two gay dads.
Aww.
This was kind of when I was starting to touch upon my SJW stuff.
I think it sounds cute, but then again, I know you well enough to know that if you wrote such a thing, it wouldn't be completely preachy SJW bullshit.
Well, granted, I was also in an idea of kind of deconstructing the sitcom as well, while also playing into the sitcom.
So you were doing the Seinfeld thing.
Think Family Matters with Seinfeld.
Family Matters. Family Matters used to be my mom's favorite sitcom, and she got me into it. So you can imagine how often Urkel jokes were made in my house, knowing me.
Yeah, did I do that? But yeah, I'm very much interested in WandaVision the most, with Winter Soldier and Falcon being the second one. Mostly on Winter Soldier. Falcon, I think, is okay.
Yeah. Although I will say definitely that I wish they had let Elizabeth Olsen keep the like Russian accent, because Wanda having just a generic American accent kind of annoys me.
Well, it could be that, that's how she's playing it in the sitcom reality dream thing.
Right, but Vision didn't like nobody forced Paul Bettany to do an American accent.
Okay, fair enough.
Nor should they, because Paul Bettany's voice is amazing and you should leave it the fuck alone. But if you're gonna let Vision talk like Vision and be a robot, for fuck's sake, then you should at least let Wanda be fucking Russian.
I think like they kind of have a nod here with like with Scarlet Witches and Vision's kids.
Yes, they do have a reference to Wiccan and Speed, which sets up the best gay couple in all of comics. Thank you very fucking much. So, yay. Though I am still curious who they will actually cast as Wiccan and Hulkling. It'll probably be someone unknown. I just hope they do it right, because if they're not as adorable as they need to be, I'm going to be disappointed. Because they are so adorable together.
Agreed. Kind of. I don't know a lot about Wiccan and Hulkling to really toss my hat into the ring on this debate. Anyway, Falcon. I'm curious mostly on like dynamic on how Sam and Bucky interact, because we got inklings of it from Civil War,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it.
Honestly, I hope the series ends with them splitting the shield and deciding that neither of them is entirely worthy to wield the shield, so they'll split it and be like a buddy cop duo.
It is cool to see Zemo I'm aware that not a lot of people liked this version of Zemo in Civil War, but I do like him. Again, mostly on character work.
He is at some point actually going to use his mask, I think. So
Yeah, yeah. Um, Funny enough, I think like I did that whole series of Avengers Endgame rewrite videos
Mhm.
where I like kind of swapped out a lot of people, like the main cast for Endgame for like the characters who disappeared.
Mhm.
And Bucky and Falcon were kind of supposed to be together, and with Bucky being the new Captain America. There's actually a picture I used of him in the video, so if you guys want to go check that out, go check out my other channel, Brainstorm Pop Culture. It's how it's spelled. See it in my name tag there.
I am a little bit worried with Falcon Winter Soldier that they're going to go SJW with it because they're introducing a character who I think is supposed to be U.S. agent, who is like the U.S. government's replacement Captain America. And in the
I think
comics, the reason why they made him was because they didn't think society was ready for a black Captain America. And of
really.
course, the purpose of the series was to show no, people are definitely ready for Black Captain America, and also
Wait, I thought
guide
U.S.
people.
Agent was like another persona Steve Rogers had used in the past and was adopted by other people.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they used it. I don't remember if it was U.S. Agent or Patriot or one of the off-brand Captain America names. I don't remember.
It was U.S. Agent, and during Watergate, Captain America became Nomad.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. But regardless, at some point in the comics, the U.S. government realized, fuck, we're out of a Captain America. We need a new Captain America just for PR reasons, if nothing else. They made this guy, and when it got brought up that Steve entrusted the shield to Sam, the mustache twirling villains were like, we don't think America is ready for Black Captain America. Derp. So this could be bad if they start with the whole exalting Sam Wilson completely irrespective of the fact that Steve had I don't know, super soldier serum or something.
I think U.S. Agent, if I remember correctly, was like he's supposed to be like a Captain America fanboy or something. Like this version.
I thought that was the Patriot persona that was the fanboy.
I don't know. I honestly haven't paid much attention to the Falcon and Winter Soldier series.
There are too many fucking rip-off Captain America characters. Honestly, they were wrong to make Captain America a mantle in the first place, and they should have just killed him off and left him dead if they couldn't think of anything better to do with him.
It's funny you actually did mention rip-off Captain America because I technically made a rip-off Captain America or like a homage to Captain America for my like superhero stuff. Black Shield. That works. That name works for a bunch of different reasons.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into it now because we got other stuff to cover. So,
well,
plus, I think I have covered it before.
You may have. Was this the guy that becomes a giant that hates being tall, or am I thinking of a different one?
No, you're thinking of someone else. Black Shield was supposed to be my equivalent to Captain America, but was like supposed to be was like a U.S. Olympic athlete, a track runner.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why he was called Black Shield was one, for he carried around a black shield, but also because it was supposed to be a derogatory term because he was supposed to be half black. And he became the first superhero, super soldier in the 1940s when World War II was happening.
And of course, back in the 40s, people were a lot more, shall we say, nonplussed by black people.
Yep. Well, again, also Black Shield was also supposed to be that he worked a lot of night ops.
Uh-huh.
So,
And of course, this whole thing was supposed to be like a secret government organization, so it was a literal black op. So yeah.
that's racist.
I know you're joking, but that still made me flinch for a second. Like, what the fuck?
So yeah, that character, he was supposed to be like my idea of Captain America with some added extra things I came up with, like the
Mhm.
serum or form, whatever I was calling it. Like for one thing, the project that the athlete was a part of was called Project Hercules.
Mhm.
So I guess Hercules serum or formula.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to like decelerate his aging so he was able to live throughout the years to modern times where he
Mhm.
became a black ops operative.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my idea for like my version if I was to do like a character inspired by Captain America.
Mhm.
I think I would have made him a little more jaded than anything. Not like still uncompromising in his views, but jaded because he's
Yeah.
lived basically through almost every war throughout history.
Not quite as aw shucks as our boy Steve there.
Nope. Plus, he
Yeah.
didn't start off frail as well.
Mhm.
Originally, his secret identity name was supposed to be Jackson Kirby.
Hmm.
Because I am not subtle when it comes to honoring those that came before.
You don't say.
Yeah. All right. So we got a trailer that I knew Dolan wanted to cover because we covered the first one before.
All right, grab your drinks, folks. This one's gonna be a long one.
I should probably get a drink. And yeah, that popcorn really made my mouth dry.
Hmm. But then again, there are a few pleasures in the universe better than movie theater popcorn. So
Yeah.
worth it.
Okay, folks, little thing, don't add too much extra butter to your popcorn and don't salt it like hell.
Well, I agree with the don't salt it like hell, but extra butter is delicious.
Oh no, actually, you know what? I retract my previous statement. So I will be right back with a drink.
Yes.
Maybe root beer, maybe not. You don't know.
Hmm. I think we do know. I think me and any potential audience members we have, which I shall check to see if we have any. And we do not. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through.
I'm back.
Ah, huzzah.
I'll give you three guesses on what I'm drinking.
My first one's gonna be root beer, because, of course.
Nope.
My second one's gonna be Mountain Dew, because that seems to be your second favorite.
Nope. Don't even have it.
Hmm.
Tropical punch.
Ah.
I drink juice.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Not all the time. It doesn't have like I like the fizziness of soda, you know?
Mm-hmm. I honestly haven't had soda since I was 15, so I barely even remember, honestly.
I think you're missing out, honestly.
I don't really. Like, the closest thing I've had in the past few years has been, like, sparkling grape juice.
So this is 2 minutes and 18 seconds long, and I feel like Dolan has a lot to say.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
If it's 2 minutes and 18 seconds, then this may very well be a 2-hour rant. You know. But anyway,
banana.
strangest variety of banana.
So a banana that looks like an anatomically correct animal dick.
Okay, you get the slow clap for that one. That was well done.
Thank you, thank you, thank you very much.
And now we proceed with the strangest variety of banana that apparently is anatomically correct and animal penis shaped. Oh boy.
All right, but yeah, banana.
In Strange Academy, you have something that is rare in Marvel Comics, a perfect entry point.
It's the first day of school. It's the first year of a new school. It's going to be a coming of age story with a bunch of kind of misfit kids from all around the Marvel universe who have a proclivity for magic and sorcery and the mystic arts.
So
Be right back.
here's my question. Are you ripping off Harry Potter because you want my soul to die and you to burn along with it? Or are you ripping off the magicians because you are unoriginal hacks? At this point, those are your only two options. Or are you just trying to be one of those nonchalant, annoying YA novels that every author has created at this point? Are you which variety of incompetent are you being? Because you really only have those three options. It's either you're stupid enough to rip off Harry Potter because you want my soul to die and you to burn along with it. You're unoriginal enough to rip off the magicians because at the very least you have some conception of quality and realize the magicians is better at this than Harry Potter is. Or you are unoriginal hacks who are basically cashing in on the YA magical kid trend. Either way, I'm already kind of pissed off at you. There are only so many ways you can do the special school well, and you already have the X-Men, so there's only so much room you can go here. You could essentially rip this. You could essentially rip off yourselves and make this the magical equivalent of the X-Men, but this would also make me burn with 1,000 kinds of rage. Magic should be something that anyone can learn, vis-a-vis Dr. Stephen Strange, who, need I remind all of you, had no innate magical talent or propensity. He learned his shit. Even the movie got this right. Study, practice, years of it, etc. And if someone does want to learn it, they should be able to learn it on their own via studying or via apprenticeship. Making this special school shit is really annoying, especially in a universe that already has the goddamn X-Men. But either way you slice it, this is shit. And it's already pissing me off.
You good? I assume not, but I have to ask as a friend.
Proceed with the banana.
I will say art's not bad, but I think they use the same on a lot of books. They use the same artist, and the art style one can the artist could get a little overworked, and sometimes it doesn't look as great. And also, I'm kind of hating how a lot of Marvel comics look look a little too samey in terms of art style.
Yeah, I've in my attempt to basically absorb all the Dresden File related media, I have read the comics, and let me tell you something. The comics for the Dresden Files made by Dynamite kick this comic's ass from here to Timbuktu. because it actually looks like an awesome 90s comic. Back when art had standards and wasn't completely and purposefully deconstructed, quote unquote.
All right, so banana. Or
Banana.
I'm not gonna say it's too much of a mouthful.
Extremely strange, anatomically correct animal penis banana.
One of our lead characters is this young woman from the Midwest, Emily Bright, who had little magical powers since she was a baby. You meet Doyle Dormammu, an illegitimate son of the scariest magic villain of all time. All these characters from all over the Marvel Universe, all dropped into New Orleans.
One thing I do like that they're incorporating New Orleans. I like New Orleans.
Yeah, New Orleans makes a certain level of sense because it has a history of magic and hoodoo and voodoo and basically all of the various folk magics throughout the country and so on and so forth.
But that is pretty much the only good thing I get from this. Be right back.
Okay. Now it is time for me to resume the rant because there isn't even a word. There is not even a word to express the amount of derision I want to cram into you right now. I will go with cunts just to save time. You cunts are ripping off Clea. You know, that character who was Doctor Strange's on and off again wife / girlfriend for, I don't know, since the 70s, guys. A character who's the offspring of one of the Faltine or the family of Dormammu. It's been done. It's been done for 50 fucking years almost. Why? Why the fuck? Just why would you bother ripping off A, yourselves technically, B, a character with a large and avid impact on the mythos of one of your flagship mystical characters, and C, why? There's so much why in me right now. I can't, this is so stupid. It honestly hurts my brain. I didn't think they would be this stupid to make a character who is related to Dormammu when Clea already exists. Okay, if you had made this character an offspring of Clea, that would make sense because she has, similar to human impulses and shit. Dormammu's only goal, basically, since its inception was, I like power, I want all the power, I don't want anything to get in the way of me having power. The only reason why Clea exists is because it's not Dormammu that gives rise to her, it is his sister, is it no, it's forget her. I forget her name. But anyway, when Dormammu left the plane of existence that is home to all the Faltine, his sister went with him, and she fell in love with a human sorcerer, and they gave rise to Clea. So either you're telling me that the dread Dormammu, Lord of the Dark Dimension, fell in love with somebody, or you are perhaps being a lot fucking darker than I think you intend to be, and are saying that either Dormammu seduced a bitch, or he raped somebody. And if it's that last one, you are fighting way above your storytelling weight class, because you really don't want to go there in the era of #MeToo. Personally, I don't care. If you have a good story to tell with it, that's one thing, but god damn, that's dark, and also, are you sure you can even get away with it in the era that we are currently living in? But yeah, thanks for already making me hate one of your characters with a burning passion, with the white-hot intensity of 1,000 suns. I award you no points. May God have mercy on your soul. Next, banana.
Banana.
where this school is set. All brought to you by Scotty Young and Umberto Ramos. It's so good. This is Scotty doing something he's never done before. A team book for all intents and purposes. A school book. But he's so good at it. And this book just brings all of his strengths out to the table.
I think Umberto is one of the best artists.
Yeah, the art's not bad. It's just my significant problem with it is it has this weird anime kind of look to it, and I don't think the story really needs that.
Yeah, it's very bland looking as well.
I think.
But
Go
yeah,
No, never mind. I thought it was. I was going to say I think this guy is the one who did art for Invincible, but I don't think it's him.
okay. Well, regardless, you're telling me that you want this to be a team book. Why? Again? Like, the smart thing to do, if you're really going to do this, which I don't advise you to do this, but the smart thing to do would be kind of to make it like Wayside Story. Have each issue or have a couple characters that you follow in like an anthology sense. If you want to do this, have like each student be a little different, have their style of magic be a little different, or have, you know, a couple characters you follow all the way up from like the lowliest freshman all the way up to mastering the mystic arts and so on. But what you definitely probably should not do, especially if you have no background in team books, is making it a team book, unless you are unoriginal enough to rip off the Magicians, because the Magicians is popular. Then I suppose having it be a random group of friends makes some kind of sense. Or are you so stupid that you would try to rip off the trio from Harry Potter? Because again, you want something in my soul to die, and you want to burn along with it. These are your options, guys. I really think that you might just be stupid fucks. You may just want to abort this entire concept and go on about your merry way, because this is not going to work well. And if by some miracle you manage to make it work well, I will applaud you, but I really don't like your odds. Banana.
But no.
To depict kids. It's a real challenge to find that youthful nature, and he's so good at it that I really don't know if there's a more perfect person to do this book.
He was already the best in the business, and now he's upped his game times 10. It's just unbelievable what you see on the page.
It is definitely going to be less focused on Strange. He's going to pop.
Okay, you're not helping. I care about exactly one character so far, and you're not making him any... Like, the smart thing to do, again, would be to make him like the headmaster of this thing. If you were intending to be... Like, if you want a magical character to be like your Dumbledore or your Professor Xavier, it's Dr. Stephen Strange. It's... I shouldn't have to even explain why that makes sense, because it's so obvious I could cry. But that is already wrong. Secondly, in your damning with faint phrase there, you neglected to actually tell me anything about the dude that you're having do this. You said a lot of random generic platitudes, but you didn't actually say anything of substance about the way the guy writes. And the fact that you're all kind of forcing yourself to speak with this kind of uppity positivity is really not filling me with a whole bunch of confidence. Because generally when somebody speaks with that kind of forced uppity positivity with the, you know, stapled and plastered grit on their face, it means that they are either 5 seconds away from psychologically snapping, or they've been brainwashed by a motherfucker. Have an organic reaction, goddamn all of you.
Shall I like show an example of organic, like when you're talking about a project you really love?
Please do.
Okay, I gotta figure out what project I'm willing to talk about. You know what? I'll talk about my. I don't know. It's weird. You know what? Okay. You know what? I'll talk about this one because I've talked about it a few times. So Reaper. You know, it's kind of my version of Daredevil / Arrow. Like it's the idea I had for like a superhero series, like TV series. Effectively, it follows a character called Lucas Saint, who is a he is a vigilante called the Reaper. Obviously, he is very much a when he was like 10 years old, he saw his mother shot and killed right in front of him during a botched grocery store robbery. This ultimately fucked him up immensely, as traumatic experiences do. And over the next 5 years, he was trained and taught many different ways by a former vigilante known as Champ. And this training was brutal. And I'm talking like he gets his arms broken on a daily basis. Like, try to explain that to your dad. Like how you always come home with scrapes and bruises and broken arms and stuff. Right? And so effectively this guy, he is the Punisher at this point. He's brutal. He does not give a shit about hurting criminals or killing them. 15 years old. Practically a mass killer. I mean, he's killed mobsters, he's killed gangs, he's killed drug dealers, pimps, and shit. No remorse. But his character journey makes him he ends up tracking down this one guy who was part of a crew that was trying to rob a place, right? And he wants to extract information from him. So he pulls a gun out on the guy, and he sees that there's a kid, the guy's son, watching. This provides what we call a paradigm shift. Yes, paradigm shift. Changes his entire perspective because he has flashbacks, intense flashbacks to the moment that he suffered and that he would have done to this kid. And he has a fucking emotional breakdown after he leaves. And this kind of starts to set him on the path of not being a killer anymore. And the choice where he makes not to take a life, like truly not take a life, is when the main villain that he's fighting at that time kills his father right in front of him. And his father, who's a police officer and has been trying to capture the vigilante known as Reaper, who he didn't know he was his son. His father finds out in his dying moments that his son was a vigilante and a murderer and stuff. Lucas does not kill the bad guy. The bad guy gets killed by someone else, but he refuses to kill him. He does not want to kill anymore. I mean, he wants to kill the bad guy. He wants to. He lets out like just he's at that point where he just screams it out. That hatred, that pain.
Right.
But he doesn't. Instead, he just holds his father in his arms, comforting him as he dies. And after that, he is truly a hero. Scarred and still bound by pain. But he's now vowed never to let anyone know what it's like to either be a killer or to face the trauma of losing those you love. I mean, granted, there's some other stuff, but I'm not getting into that. And that is, I don't know if that comes off as genuine or not.
Yeah. But you will notice person who made, or person or persons that made this advertisement, that he didn't just say, oh, this series is really good, oh, this series is really good, oh, this series is really good, in various different words over and over. He actually described the substance of what the thing was. And if I was to talk about him, I would not just repeat the mantra, he's really good, he's the best, he's this, he's that. Like, okay. You guys are comic book creators working for Marvel Comics, so I assume you know what I'm saying when I say, you guys sound like Trump when you say this. You know that thing that everybody mocks about Trump, the it's the greatest, it's the best, it's tremendous, it's unbelievable, believe me, etc. That thing that everybody mocks about Trump, you are doing it now, unironically, and in so doing, you are telling me exactly jack shit nothing about this guy you've gotten to write this book, and you don't see what's wrong with it. You have 2 minutes, 18 seconds in which to speak, and you have essentially said nothing except for you're using a premise that is unoriginal, hackneyed, and extremely contrived. You're ripping off one of your own characters and shitting on the existence of that character with one of the characters, and you have a guy who you think is really good for non-specific and insincere reasons. You understand, I would imagine, why this fills me with no confidence in you whatsoever, and why I am completely feeling justified in calling you a bunch of cunts. But at any rate, banana.
Anatomically correct animal dick banana.
Yes.
Pop in from time to time.
All the magic people in the Marvel Universe are all here. You got Magic of the X-Men. You got Scarlet Witch. But it's not about them.
We're going to micro-focus this on kids and what magic is and what the mystic arts are.
The Marvel Universe has never had a magic school. And there's a reason why. Because it's a horrible idea in universe. Let's teach these children how to use incredible magical powers. Doctor Strange.
My God. Oy vey.
Take the floor.
Okay. There's a YouTuber named Mysterious Mr. Enter who he's hit and miss because he tends to focus way too much on morality, which, as anyone who's familiar with me knows, I don't give a fuck. And unless the topic at hand is morality, I will not bring it into a conversation. But he has this great phrase that is the only thing I can think of at the moment, which is when he sees writers of something like lampshading their own incompetence, he'll sarcastically say, "What I'm doing is wrong. I know it's wrong, but I'm gonna do it anyway." And I can't begin to tell you, person who just said that, whose name I do not know, how much I want to just repeat that phrase over and over again like 10 times now. Because you know that you have to know the idea is stupid. Not just for in-universe reasons, which you outlined there, which I don't know if I entirely agree with, because I am a practicing occultist. I have been a practicing occultist for 13 and a half years. And I started studying magic at the age of 10. Granted, it was about a year into my practice before I actually started using it, because you shouldn't just go right off into using it. But in the context of the Marvel Universe, the reason why a magic school is stupid is because the Marvel Universe is very similar to ours in that you don't need to go to some fancy smancy magic-specific school to learn magic. There are grimoires that you can buy. There are books that you can, that there are, okay. In the Marvel Universe, as in ours, there should be, and I actually would like to see a Doctor Strange series talk about this. They kind of touch on it more in the Dresden Files, which is another reason why I like the Dresden Files. The thing that separates someone like Stephen Strange from your garden variety Wiccan or your garden variety pagan is not that the magic system of the garden variety Wiccan or garden variety pagan isn't true or something along those lines, or that it's made up or what have you. It's that their magic system is not nearly as powerful or efficient as the magic systems applied by Stephen Strange, and they don't take it seriously or don't go into it enough to gain that kind of power. Even the DC animated universe touched on this. In the DC animated universe, specifically Superman the Animated Series, there was an episode called The Hand of Fate, where essentially a god of chaos was released from an ancient tablet and set upon Metropolis, and Superman had to fight the thing. And to quote the villain of that episode, he is strong for a mortal, but a mortal is all he is. Therefore, he goes and he finds Dr. Fate, and Dr. Fate ends up helping him. But in the interim, between Superman realizing he's mystically outgunned and going to find Dr. Fate, there is a garden variety Wiccan woo-woo, whose name I believe is Rain Song, or who calls herself Rain Song, who owns like a metaphysical shop, and she actually offers to get her White Wicca coven together, quote unquote, and try and pierce the protection spell that the Chaos God has walled himself away with. And this is stupid. It is self-evidently stupid, and it is framed as stupid. But it's not framed as stupid because the magic doesn't exist, because it definitively does. Dr. Fate exists, Zatanna exists, Jason Blood exists, etc., etc. It's the people in question do not have the knowledge and power necessary to wield the kind of force necessary to be equivalent to a being like Karkle. That is the kind of approach that needs to be had among comic book universes to, your Wiccans, your pagans, your garden variety, New Agers, etc. It's not that their magic isn't a thing, it's that they don't understand their own system, they don't apply it effectively, or their magic is just diluted and doesn't have enough juice. That's how you do that, which means that in either the Marvel or DC universe, a person can study magic from books just like anybody else in our universe can. You can go to, a generic Barnes & Noble and find books on the occult. Granted, 99% of them are shit, which, is going to be the case in those universes as well, I would imagine. But yeah, there's no need for there to be a magical, a Hogwarts or a Breakbills, because magic is a intellectual discipline that you can get books on pretty much anywhere, just like every other topic. The stuff you might be learning might be a little diluted, and you might have to search for the good shit, but so much the better, because as you said, you don't want novices being able to conjure up storms and shit. For power like that, you gotta work for it. But yeah, the reason why this is stupid has nothing to do with we don't want to give children power. It's because the way magic works in the Marvel and DC universes, both respectively, being that it's based on genuine occultism for the most part, doesn't warrant there being a magical school like that. Granted, there are certain online schools and stuff in the real world that you can go to that are specifically magic oriented, but aside from those, it makes no sense for there to be a special magic school. What you should have is a bunch of geeks in an actual school learning magic in their spare time because they're smart enough to understand that that's how magic works. And then you can bring in someone like Strange or someone like Magic or someone like that and offer offer them some kind of apprenticeship, or offer them pointers, or at least offer them enough knowledge to keep them safe, etc. That would be an interesting thing. But unless you're gonna basically straight up rip off the Magicians, which is the only franchise that I've seen actually do the whole Magic School franchise well, you're going to fuck this up, because the very concept of I'm special and I go to this special school, aside from the X-Men, which makes sense because they're mutants with mutant powers, doesn't work. Because even natural magical aptitude is just essentially a hyper-focused talent. It's not some mutation. Even in cases where mutants have magic and their mutant power relates to their magic, it's essentially just a heightened physical attribute that lets them work magic easier. It doesn't make them non-human. It doesn't turn them into some new subcategory of human. It just means they have a skill set naturally that other people would have to work at. Similar to how there are child prodigies. There are child prodigies who are really, really good at piano playing. There are child prodigies that are really good at being...
Dolphin?
Yeah, I'm rambling. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just letting you know that you're rambling.
Mm.
Do you want to have a closing point before we move on, or?
No, just it baffles me that they can know their idea is stupid and still go ahead with it. Again, to quote Mr. Enter, what I'm doing is wrong, I know it's wrong, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Derp.
So, banana?
Banana.
Never wanted to do that. That's why he'd always only train one person at a time. But something horrible is coming to the Marvel Universe. And if he doesn't help these kids figure out how to do what they can do, the whole world could.
It's going to be big and fun and magical and weird and exciting and all the things you want out of a Marvel comic.
Okay, but Doctor Strange and its adjoining magical franchises aren't just any old Marvel comic. Doctor Strange is on quite a different level of weird, is what I'm saying. It was born in the 60s psychedelia movement. It inspired Pink Floyd and the Doors, for fuck's sake. If you can't deliver on that level of weirdness and make this magical school concept something that's not cliched, stupid, and annoying, then why should anyone want anything to do with it? God damn it.
Yeah, that was Dalton's thing. I had barely little to contribute. I just pressed the button.
Mm-hmm. But
And
that moment where he admitted that the concept he's working with is a stupid concept has got to be one of the top 10 stupidest, cunty things I've ever seen on this show. And that's saying a lot. Like, that's aristocratic lady wanting to boycott Game of Thrones because she doesn't like it levels of stupid.
I remember that.
That is still probably my favorite show we've ever done, that article.
Yeah. I almost forgot about that one.
Yep, in Podcast of the Storm 12.
That long ago.
Yep.
Anyway, so this is something that, so we're kind of going with the same thing with Doctor Strange. I'm still waiting for it to load.
Yeah, because if anyone doesn't know, there was kind of a big deal with Doctor Strange movie news in the last week, because of course Scott Derrickson vamoosed for creative differences, i.e. Marvel were being unreasonable jackasses and he was buckling under the pressure. So the search was on, therefore, to find a replacement, and I have mixed feelings on who they apparently have gone with. Granted, the contract isn't signed yet, but I have mixed feelings.
I'm indifferent. Though, granted, I do like this director. I am indifferent with this project because I will be completely honest. I'm not well versed in Doctor Strange, nor was I really that much of a fan with the movie.
Hmm.
I mean, if it's good, I'll see it.
I think this caliber of director is definitely an upgrade from Derrickson, which isn't throwing shade at Derrickson. I just think he was punching a little bit above his weight class, creatively speaking, and that's why the first movie was so ridiculously bland. Though most of that was probably due to Marvel not letting him do the interesting things he wanted to do, which is fair enough. But I don't know if I would say this guy fits with the character or the world. So let's get into it, and I will make my reservations known here.
Variety.com. Sam Raimi in talks to direct Doctor Strange 2, exclusive, by Adam B. Vary and Justin Kroll. Okay. Sorry, I had to burp there for a sec. Okay. Sam Raimi, who helped launch the modern superhero movie with 2002's Spider-Man, is in talks to direct Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness from Marvel Studios. Variety has learned.
Okay, so first thing you got wrong, Variety. He didn't launch the modern superhero movie. That was either Christopher Nolan or Kevin Feige, depending.
Yeah, that's true.
The era before the modern era is the one he helped launch. What I call the beta test era.
I would
The one that began with the one that sort of began with Blade after the fallout of Batman and Robin ended the previous era, and it took X-Men and Spider-Man to really get off the ground.
I would say he kind of helped bring superhero movies into a larger light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, Richard Donner and Tim Burton both beat him to it by a good couple of decades there. But it was definitely the next step in the evolution of superhero movies. Richard Donner was the guy who directed the
first Superman, like the original Superman movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Christopher Reeves. And Tim Burton, who you didn't know, directed the Michael Keaton Batman movies.
Yeah, the Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer ones.
He didn't direct Val Kilmer. That was Joel Schumacher.
Oh, I thought Val Kilmer was in Batman Returns. Was it Keaton for both the first two, and then they changed it to Kilmer for the third one?
Yeah, and then it was Clooney.
Okay, so yeah, both of the Michael Keaton Batman movies, the good ones. Before,
I think the first Joel Schumacher movie had something, but studio interference and too much weird '90s camp.
Which was trying desperately to be way more like the '60s show than it should have been.
Yeah, I like the neon noir of Gotham, though.
Yeah, yeah. To use the template of a meme, everything changed when the Schumacher attacked. But anyway, proceed.
Okay. Raimi replaces original director Scott Derrickson, who Variety reported on January 9th had officially departed the project due to creative differences. Derrickson will remain as an executive producer. Raimi, meanwhile, will need to get up to speed before the film's scheduled production start in May. Marvel had no comment.
I hope that Scott Derrickson, if he is staying on as the producer, still has some say in the movie. Because I get the feeling that if if Derrickson and Raimi can work together, they can make a movie worthy of the character. But either of them standing alone, I have doubts and or questions. But if the two of you can put your heads together, guys, we might actually get a good Doctor Strange movie out of this before I die.
After finishing his Spider-Man trilogy for Sony Pictures with 2007's Spider-Man 3, Raimi's output as a director slowed considerably, with just the horror pick Drag Me to Hell in 2009 and Disney's Wizard of Oz prequel Oz the Great and Powerful in 2015. Wait, he made that?
Yes.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I had that
Wait,
movie on DVD.
It was 2015 that movie came out?
No, 13.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, because I thought it was a while ago.
Okay movie. I liked it.
Yeah, I don't know as I don't like what they did with the Wicked Witches, but aside from that, it was okay.
Is there anything you do like?
Many, many, many things, yes.
It just seems like you always don't really like anything, man.
I have high standards. It's not my fault that most of the universe is below them.
Okay. Instead, he's been busy as producer, helping relaunch various horror franchises like Poltergeist and his own classic Evil Dead.
Which I respect that it was his remake, but even he admits his heart wasn't in, so nobody holds it against you there, Sam. But that being said, the continuation series, which was Ash vs. Evil Dead, was amazeballs. So kudos to you.
Alright, there is something of a coup for both Raimi and Marvel. Given Raimi's reputation with comic book fans, 2004's Spider-Man 2 is still widely regarded as one of the best superhero movies ever made. Feel free to say something, Dalton, because I know you want to.
Okay, it holds up. Okay, it holds up. It remains good. It remains decent.
But
to call it one of the best comic book movies ever made is just frankly stupid. The Tobey Maguire movies were so basic and dumbed down or stripped away most of the comic bookiness that was inherent to the franchise to such a point that it was almost just a generic action movie. Which incidentally is kind of the same problem I have with the Fox X-Men franchise, which Fox just barely learned themselves out of with Deadpool and Logan. So let's not suck his dick too hard here. The aspect of Sam Raimi that I like, that I am looking forward to, is not his work in the superhero genre, because for the most part, I feel like his movies that were made in the early 2000s deserve to stay in the early 2000s. The aspect of Sam Raimi that I am looking forward to is the Sam Raimi what created Evil Dead. Because if he can bring the over-the-top horror hammer-esque Lovecraftian dimensions to Doctor Strange, then we might have something. Consequently, though, I also have issues with that because Sam Raimi is good at practical effects and he's good at hammer horror. He's not, to the best of my knowledge, good with utilizing CG or like large amounts of visual effects. And if this is a justifiable Doctor Strange movie, it will get him off of Earth and keep him off of Earth as soon and as long as possible. So I really don't want another street level movie in regards to Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is a character rooted in alternate dimensions. I want him to stay there. And I don't want there to be alternate timelines or parallel universes. When I say multiverse, I mean the Lovecraftian, psychedelic, surreal, Jungian aspects of the multiverse. I don't mean alternate versions of existing human characters. I mean characters like the Shimagora, the Octessant, the Fear Lords, the Dweller in the Dark, Mephisto, Nightmare, those kind of characters. That's the aspect of the multiverse I want there to be explored. And while Sam Raimi can definitely deal with effects among the best of them, his only real visual effects showcase in the like CGI world bending variety is Oz the Great and Powerful, which was interestingly production designed, but the world it's kind of like my criticisms with his Spider-Man movies. They were great for the early 2000s, but it's not the early 2000s anymore. And Oz the Great and Powerful was passable in 2013, but it's 2020, and by the time this movie comes out, it will be 2021. So, does Sam Raimi have the kind of visual and conceptual creativity necessary to pull off something like this? Granted, the Scott Derrickson didn't do any better, because for the most part, his movie was bland as fuck, but regardless.
Ranting.
I know. Moving on.
Okay, where was I? And with 15 features to his name as a director, including the beloved horror trilogy, Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness. Funny enough,
Bless you.
that was a cough.
Oh.
They had filmed an alternate ending for Army of Darkness where Ash woke up in a post-apocalyptic future where the Deadites and demons and shit were taking over the world. And they originally had plans for the next movie to be Ash with an army of robots fighting evil.
Yeah, which they kind of brought back at the end of Ash versus Evil Dead.
Yeah. Well, they only cut it because the audience thought it was too much of a downer ending. Which is fucking stupid, and sometimes audience, like those what's it called? Control audiences?
Focus groups.
Yeah, focus groups are kind of fucking idiots.
Yep. But like I said, I thought Ash vs. Evil Dead was amazing, and it brought Sam Raimi back to his low budget roots, which is good because if he can do Ash vs. Evil Dead on a TV budget, even if it's a prestige TV budget, what will he be able to do with the resources of the Marvel Universe? Because the Marvel Universe is full of the biggest blockbusters currently in Hollywood. So
I just hope one thing, Raimi is able to get the time he needs to make sure everything's perfect.
Honestly, I still hold to the idea that they should move. They should honestly switch Thor 4 and Doctor Strange around. Because my initial thought was they should save Doctor Strange 2 until 2022, November of 2022, or October of 2022. And I still think that would be a better idea, but based on the movies they have now and the plans they have now, I think since Taika Waititi is already working on the Thor 4 script, and he just made a movie that's going to get nominated for a bunch of Oscars, and he's a lot more of a studio director. Just put Thor 4 where Doctor Strange is, and put Doctor Strange where Thor Love and Thunder currently is, and that will at least give everybody time to even things out.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Raimi is also the most established filmmaker to join the Marvel Studios fold since the earliest days of the studio, when Kenneth Branagh and Joe Johnston respectively directed the first Thor and Captain America movies in 2011.
Mhm.
Since then, Marvel's MO has been to hire talented filmmakers who've made just a few or zero features before, and nothing at a blockbuster scale, like Joss Whedon, Anthony and Joe Russo, James Gunn, Ryan Coogler, and Taika Waititi. Raimi, by contrast, comes to Doctor Strange 2 with his own distinctive visual style and decades of experience while making tentpole movies, especially featuring Marvel superheroes.
Again, I cast slight dispersion on his experience with the Spider-Man movies because it was a long time ago and the style of the superhero movie has moved on significantly. However, there is hope in the sense that in regards to superhero movies, in my opinion, the movies that he should be leaning into as far as superhero movies go are not his Spider-Man movies for Doctor Strange 2, but his Darkman movies. Darkman wasn't nearly as profitable as Spider-Man, I grant you, but it was a lot more in line with Doctor Strange, including a character getting damaged and scarred as part of the hero's backstory. And it was a lot more similar to, say, the Burton Batman movies in tone than it was the later Spider-Man movies. That's the Sam Raimi I hope shows up to the set of Doctor Strange 2. The Sam Raimi that made Evil Dead and Darkman. That's a Sam Raimi I can get behind. If he's gonna campify Doctor Strange and he's gonna make it street level, then get the fuck out, as far as I'm concerned. And also, Sam, my dude, no matter what Marvel tries to tell you, do not let them make you make this movie about alternate timelines and parallel universes. Keep it Lovecraftian, keep it weird, keep it psychedelic. Please, for the love of fuck. Moving on.
Alright. Benedict Cumberbatch is returning as the Sorcerer Supreme after his 2016 debut and subsequent appearances in Thor Ragnarok, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame.
He's not the Sorcerer Supreme yet in the Marvel Universe of the movies. He has not yet taken the title so far as we know. And if he has, then I'm extremely disappointed because he's nowhere near as powerful as he should be for someone who's taken the title of Sorcerer Supreme.
Benedict Wong and Chiwetel Ejiofor, thank you, Don, are also expected to reprise their roles from the original film as, respectively, fellow sorcerers Wong and Strange's compatriot turned nemesis Carl Mordo.
To be fair, we haven't gotten to the turned to nemesis yet, but we're getting there.
Mm-hmm. And Elizabeth Olsen has been tapped to reprise her role as Scarlet Witch, aka Wanda Maximoff, for a storyline that Marvel Studios chief Kevin Feige said will link up with her Disney Plus series WandaVision, which will debut in December.
Which means, hopefully, that we are now going to actually get to the witch part of Scarlet Witch.
Mm-hmm. Rachel McAdams, however, will not reprise her role as Strange's colleague Christine Palmer.
As far as I'm concerned, that's good, because they were never supposed to have a romantic relationship. It was just supposed to be a friendship thing.
Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is scheduled to open on May 7th, 2021. Marvel Studios' next theatrical project, Black Widow, will open on May. Okay, so it's just stuff talking.
Yeah.
like I said, I'm indifferent.
Like, again, this can work if the Sam Raimi of Darkman and Evil Dead shows up. But even then, I have questions about his experience in regards to big psychedelic shit as opposed to practical effects. Don't get me wrong, I love practical effects. I always love practical effects, especially the practical effects of Sam Raimi. But practical effects really aren't going to work very well in Doctor Strange. It's big and psychedelic and shit. Now, granted, you can make a lot of practical stuff and then augment it with CGI. That would work fine. But most of what Sam Raimi's work is in is creature effects and hammer horror, which doesn't really lend itself well to trippy environments. So, like, creature design, I have no problem with. Whatever creatures we get, please, for the love of God, Shima-Gorath, or the Octessence of the Dweller in the Dark, or the Fear Lords, or any of those. But the environment and the conceptual boundary pushing, the weird factor, is what I'm looking for the most. That, and maybe potentially somebody getting an emotional reaction out of Benedict Cumberbatch, for the love of fuck. But baby steps. But I can definitely see this. I can definitely see this working if Sam Raimi gives it his all. And I stress the if he gives it his all, because I said that Scott Derrickson could work once upon a time if he gave it his all. The problem is he kind of wasn't allowed to give his all because he was making the first in a series for Marvel, and they weren't willing to go all crazy with it. And it seems like they weren't really willing to go crazy with it for this movie either, which is why he left over creative differences. But hopefully, with a director like Sam Raimi at the helm, someone who Kevin Feige has actually worked with before on the Spider-Man movies, by the way, hopefully with those two coming to some kind of terms, they'll let Sam Raimi go a little bit crazier, especially after the Kevin Feige's too afraid to hire a horror director fiasco that led to this in the first place. Because that's what a lot of people were saying when Scott Derrickson quit, was it's because Marvel won't let him go all horror like he wants to. And if that is the reason, then Kevin, what the fuck are you thinking? But especially after that has been made such a public spectacle of, I hope they let Sam Raimi take the reins a little bit and go as weird as he wants to. I like I said in my tweet about this can work, but I have concerns. I really don't want my concerns to be founded, but I tried to bullshit my way into liking the first Doctor Strange movie, and that didn't do anything but bite me in the ass. So I'm not going into this one blind.
Oh, hey. Taika Waititi got an Oscar for Jojo Rabbit.
Yay. How's Joker doing?
I have no idea. I just saw like someone made a poster of Joe Rabbit's Hitler on.
Oh, the yay.
Yeah, so I don't know how Joker's doing. Personally, I don't really care because I don't think the Oscars really matter.
I only care in the sense that they matter to the industry. And if Joker manages to win 3 or more Oscars, then they can't write it off as, oh, this movie's irrelevant.
Right.
Anymore, as much.
Speaking of something that's irrelevant.
Ewan
McGregor doubles down on misogynist marking for Birds of Prey. This is from Bounding in the Comics. Again, folks, if you want to ever read these articles that we cover, they are always in the description.
Yeah, although Bounding in the Comics is probably the least cringy and awful news source we use, because generally speaking, it's from our side of the argument, generally.
Yeah.
which is why it's better to use them as a source when it's somebody saying something stupid rather than looking for an actual opinion piece that's going to be stupid, because usually their opinion pieces aren't stupid.
Ewan McGregor continues to double down on the quote-unquote misogynist marketing for the upcoming Birds of Prey film.
Yeah, Ewan, what the fuck are you doing?
I could be doing it as a joke.
I doubt it.
Huh.
Because I can't conceive of a way this could be funny. And if he is doing it as a joke, you would think there would be more feminists mad at him for Ewan McGregor thinks misogyny is a joke and is irrelevant, herder. And he would have been canceled already.
McGregor's latest instance came during an appearance on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, one of the least important talk shows on air still.
Yeah, but we're, in the minds of the normies and the feminists and the people who are interested in the cultural import, I suppose it matters for something.
Alright, whatever. When asked about Birds of Prey, McGregor went directly to talking about misogyny without any prompting from Fallon. Okay, so maybe he's not doing this as a joke.
Yeah, and once again I must ask, Ewan mate, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you determined to make this movie more embarrassing to your career than the Star Wars prequels were? It's not like you haven't played an edgelord before. You got your start in Train Spotting, man. Where the fuck is your spine and your edge, man?
Alright. He told the Tonight Show host, "Brilliant. It's about time that we've got this female-made, female-driven superhero movie." Wonder Woman. Seriously, does that not count at all?
Because I honestly think it's because it's not feminist. And these people conflate feminism and womanhood so hard they honestly don't consider Wonder Woman womanly enough, because it doesn't play the oppressed card and patriarchy and yada yada yada. Because it's more about actually empowering females sans ideology whatsoever. It doesn't tick the appropriate number of woman boxes for them.
No, woman boxes.
Yes, the appropriate woman boxes.
Y'all need to respect woman.
The women's.
No, don't. Womans.
Yes, I know. For the record, the women I was using just now was spelled with AWHIMMIN.
Alright, it's a really powerful film. We'll get into that later.
Certainly not financially powerful there, Ewan, but zing.
It was just exciting to be part of a film that covers some of the misogynist nonsense that you ladies have to deal with on a daily basis. Again, we'll bring this back up in the last topic.
Ewan, you have completely presupposed the existence of misogyny, and once again, what the fuck are you playing at, you twat? I don't like calling Ewan McGregor a twat, but he's being a twat.
Well, he played it, twat. No offense. No offense, Ewan McGregor. It's just you are being a twat.
Yes, he's being a twat, and his character in the movie, incidentally, was a twat. We'll get there.
Yeah, we will get there. Okay. McGregor continued saying he was proud and honored to be part of the film. "I was honored to be the chief misogyner in the movie. I'm not a very nice character in it. I was proud to be part of it and to start to get that message out there." You play the villain. You're an ass. That's the point. Of course, you're not a main character.
And just to give some context to what I was saying before we came on, this is why I think he was intended to be a misogynist, because apparently that was the literal goal of Ewan McGregor when he was playing the character. He was going for misogynist rather than just straight up misandrist.
Isn't his character supposed to be gay?
Apparently. He and Victor Zsasz are supposed to be implied to be an item. Which, well done, feminists writing Birds of Prey. You turned a gay character into a misogynist.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. Isn't that like for feminists like a paradox of some sorts?
But by rights, they should hate that, but they don't because they haven't thought it through. Or they consider the maleness of a gay person to be more descriptive of their character than the gayness of a gay person. Thereby, if you're a man and gay, you can still be misogynist because your gayness doesn't trump your manness.
Right.
But the thing that I want to get at is this is kind of a throwback if you think about it, because one of the things that caused homophobia back in the days where homophobia was still a regular thing was the idea that what made gay men awful was they didn't love women. Because obviously a man that prefers sleeping with other men doesn't feel compelled to worship at the altar of women. And it got several gay men killed. The insinuation that by being gay it means they don't love women. So once again, well done, writers of the Birds of Prey. You've brought back classic homophobia and you think you're being virtuous.
Oh wait, we need, in case anyone wants to call us homophobic or racist or whatever the fuck, we need to show our credentials.
Yeah, bisexual, disabled, non-Abrahamic religion having person here. So yeah, I am a bisexual who prefers like 70% dudes to about 30% women. And incidentally, as a person who could very loosely be called gay, it annoys me that a gay person is being depicted as a misogynist. Granted, it didn't piss me off nearly as much as it did when Doctor Who did it recently, because they turned Stephen Fry's character into a misogynist. And Stephen Fry is one of the greatest gay icons in the history of basically the modern West. Stephen Fry is awesome in every conceivable dimension, and he is also gay. And Doctor Who turned him, the show, not the character, turned him into a misogynist. So yeah, fuck you, Hollywood, for apparently reviving the idea that gay men don't love women, and then proceeding to completely forget you did that and making a virtue out of it.
Hispanic guy, a Mexican guy, whatever the fuck you want to call me.
Yeah.
My skin's brown. That's basically it.
Yeah. Person, you are a person of color. So yeah, you have a gay cripple witch and a person of color bitching at you for insinuating twice that gay men don't love women, or gay men hate women, etc.
Okay, moving on because I don't want to cover this anymore because it's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
These comments from McGregor appear to actually be talking points as he repeats the same lines in just a different manner depending on who he's talking to.
Of course, he might actually believe it and continue to be consistent.
Right.
More likely, in my opinion. It may very well be that was how it was pitched to him, but he clearly believed it on some level.
Mm-hmm. In late January,
No, go ahead.
In late January, McGregor, alongside his co-star Chris Messina, who plays Victor Zsasz, told the AP, "Yeah, it's about time. We're both really proud. We talked about it. We were both really proud to be involved in a film that was a feminist film that tackled misogyny." Okay, so Don,
Go ahead.
I'm gonna have to retract the thing where I said like I didn't see this film as a feminist film.
Because apparently that was exactly what they were going for.
Yep. So I kind of owe you an apology. So I am very sorry that I did not believe you.
You don't really owe me an apology. It was just a difference of opinion, but it is appreciated nonetheless.
I really should stop trying to see the merit in these kind of things.
Don't let the world take away your optimism. It makes you the fun, protective kind of violent, not the destroy the world kind of violent. And I prefer you as the fun, protective kind of violent. So there.
It is hard to be optimistic in these times.
Yeah, well, there's an old saying. There's an old saying that's typically said by the old to the young, "May you be condemned to live in interesting times."
Well, you are older than me.
Only by like 4 years now. Shut up.
Yeah, whatever, old man. All right. I'm such an asshole.
No, I deserved it. I totally deserved it. But that being said, we are condemned to live in interesting times.
Yep.
These times are very interesting, but they can also be very fucking dark.
I was going to say frustrating, but yeah. Anyway, he continued not only in the sort of extreme ends of misogyny, but also the everyday mild misogyny women have to put up with.
Okay. Feminists, my darlings, you realize that when a person is an asshole to all people, it is not misogyny, it is misanthropy. I.e., it is not the womanhood that makes someone hate you, typically. It is the fact that that person hates pretty much all people. Like, Brainstormer and I were actually having a conversation, and that's what the apology was about, if anyone's curious, before we came on. And he was convinced that Black Mask just kind of uniformly hated everybody. Whereas I, keeping in mind stuff like this, insisted that at the very least the filmmakers were trying for or going for misogyny. Because if you look at it, there is not a single likable or positive male character in the movie except for, as Brainstormer pointed out to me, a random shopkeeper who exists for all of 2 seconds.
Yeah, he made the egg bacon sandwich for Harley for her hangover.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't talk. He just gives her like a little 2-finger salute.
Yeah.
And like a nice guy.
Yeah. And in all honesty, given the rest of the movie, I suspect that if they had given him any dialogue or any more to do, he probably would have found some way of becoming an awful character. But yeah, if you'll notice, Black Mask tends to have reasons for hating male characters when he hates male characters. It's directly framed in the movie that most often when he hates female characters, he hates them at least partially because they are women. And Victor Zsasz, as another example in the movie, scars himself not when he kills anybody like he did in the comics, but specifically when he quote unquote sets little birdies free, which is implied to inspire the name of the group, i.e., Birds of Prey.
You know, I will be completely honest. that went over my head. Again, we'll get more into this in the review.
It surprises me that anything went over your head, because usually that doesn't happen.
Well, again, like I've said many times, I don't really see feminist stuff most of the time.
Unless somebody points out and goes, "Look at this feminist thing."
Yeah.
I think it's honestly because you're so optimistic that you would rather not see it.
Well, again, I'm also like I'm a fairly typical writer in the sense that I know basic writing and storytelling, and that's what I focus on mostly.
Yeah. And in so doing, honestly, the versions of things that you come up with are almost always better than what's actually there. Like, the excuses you make up to excuse filmmakers being stupid often would actually make the movie better.
Yeah. Again, maybe we'll get more into this during our review. Let's just finish this article first.
Mm-hmm.
All right. McGregor added, and this film peppered with references to that. We were just proud to be part of that and be the misogynist in the movie. To help flag that up to guys who need to know that time's done. What
That
the
time,
fuck, Elon?
that time Ewan and Chris Mantegna, I think?
Yeah.
That time Ewan and Chris never fucking existed, so far as we know. Any time throughout history when a woman was oppressed, an individual woman, okay, not women as a class or women as a demographic, any time throughout history when women are oppressed, it is either because people are more concerned with protecting women than allowing women to be free, as is the case in the Middle East, for example, when women are not allowed outside of the house without a chaperone during wartime in order to protect them from the consequences of war, or there is some other factor in that individual person that mitigates their womanhood in some way, i.e., black women were hated when black people in general were hated, but even then, they would often get less vitriol thrown at them because they were black women than the equivalent black men got. I.e., people lynched black men. There are, to the best of my knowledge, no or very few examples of a black woman ever being lynched, which might seem like a small courtesy, but when the male equivalent of a given race that is being hated gets dead, and usually quite painfully dead, and the female members of that race do not get dead, period, that's quite a that's quite a line, you see. I.e., in the case of black women getting discriminated against, it's their blackness, not their femaleness, that is the source of the discrimination. And that is almost always the case with women who are oppressed as individuals throughout history. There's some mitigating factor that makes them discriminatable, and usually their womanhood will counteract that discrimination in some way, even if it's a small way. Or the kind of discrimination that women will get just because they are women is discrimination to exalt them in some way, to make them a superior class of people, i.e., in the same way that peasants will lay down their lives to protect a king because the king is more valuable than them or seen as better than them, so too men will regularly sacrifice their lives for women because women, in addition to being called the fairer sex, are also very frequently seen as the more valuable sex. And sometimes, just like a king cannot go everywhere because the people who are put in charge of protecting that king are concerned that harm will befall them, so too sometimes women's freedoms are curtailed for the sake of their protection and their exaltation. But aside from either of those two things, women are not discriminated against as a class or a demographic. individual women can be discriminated against, but women as a class or demographic do not. Because people, generally speaking, do not hate women. You want to know why? Because people are born from women. And it is absolutely ludicrous unless a individual mother is abusive to an individual child, for any individual child to have a hatred of women. It is entirely conceivable for basically any human being to have a preference for their mothers, because their mothers are their first exposure of what a human being is. The very first second that a baby opens its eyes, it is exposed to its mother. Its mother is its first example of this is what a proper human being is to be like. Therefore, there is a natural predisposition towards loving and wanting to protect women, not hating them. There is no age of misogyny. There are ages where women have less freedoms for the sake of their protection, usually, and there are ages where women of various different minority groups will be seen more as their minority groups than their sex. But there is no age in history where people hated women as
Okay.
a class or demographic because they were women. Moving on.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, man. You were going on.
Mhm.
All right. Previously in October, McGregor told French site Premiere, "What interested me with Birds of Prey is that it's a feminist film. It's a very finely written. It is very finely written. There is in the script a real look on misogyny," he added, "and I think we need that. We need to be more aware of how we behave with the opposite sex. We need to be taught to change." Don, before you do anything, because I know you're going to have a long-winded rant for that.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh no, it's real quick. Elon, you are a dumb motherfucker. You need to shut the fuck up.
Yeah. You good?
Wait, I might have something else. Hold on. There's, I would say, pretty much today, women have pretty much never been better, and whatever misogyny there is, it doesn't exist in the larger part of the Western world.
Yeah.
And women have it pretty easy nowadays mostly in the Western world.
Mhm.
I think I'm good.
Okay. Now, Ewan, you say that men need to be taught to love women. Would you also say that women need to be taught to love men? Would you make this an equal statement? Would you say that all humans need to be taught to love other humans? Or, Ewan, and this is what I think you would probably say were you here, would you say that men need to be taught to love women, but women already know how to love men because women are better at being empathetic? And do you not see how you have just, by saying that, or at least implying that, basically said that women are better than men? Because women have the ability for empathy and men apparently don't in your mind. I would say, Ewan, that most humans, most neurotypical humans will develop some semblance of empathy regardless of whether they are taught empathy or not. Because it is in human nature to empathize with beings that are similar to us. Every species on the planet has some kind of in-group preference in regard to their species. And as I previously alluded to, a lot of species, especially mammal species, in addition to having an in-group preference for their species, have a gynocentric preference, i.e., a lot of mammal species have a preference whereby they love the female of their species more than the male of their species. Even male animals have a preference for female animals over fellow male animals, typically. There are exceptions to this rule. For example, the Neanderthals were a species of humanoid that had a fairly egalitarian approach to these things. But even they were not entirely devoid of this. Thereby, I would say that if anything, there needs to be a bit of a spotlight focused on people not seeing men as blank and disposable, because people do very often see men as blank and disposable. They see men, right, Ewan, as the default, which basically means I don't have to pay attention to individuals within this group because they are just blank. They're blank humans. So I don't need to pay them any particular attention. They're not persons, they are blank humans. Whereas with women, we are very much concerned about their individual agency and individual protection. Every man, whether they be gay or otherwise, have at least some connection with women because they are born to women. Every living human on this earth was born from a woman. And yes, some of those individual women were shitty to some of those individual people, thereby causing them to hate women. But for the most part, if anything, we have a preference for our mothers and our prospective mates. And even men that are gay or just don't prefer sexuality at all, still have the innate preference for their mother. Everybody loves women. Very few people actually actively give a shit about men. And if men need to be taught to love women, then maybe we should be doing a little bit more of the other as well, i.e., explaining to women why they should give a shit about men, aside from the obvious of being useful. Or we can do neither of these things and trust in the ordinary faculty of human empathy to organically arise because it's part of human nature. But by saying we need to teach men but not teach women, what you are saying is men are broken. They do not have the natural human capacity for empathy, and they need to be taught it. Which means you are basically saying that men do not have empathy.
I mean, I know I'm already broken, so.
Well, yeah. Most people can look at themselves and see their flaws, except for narcissists. Narcissists will look at themselves and see only the positive things about themselves, and will need everyone else to basically confirm that. But most people have at least enough self-awareness to look at themselves and see a bunch of flaws. Because most people, like I said, have some degree of self-awareness and empathy by virtue of simply being humans. And if you thought that humans were broken, Ewan, do you think that teaching them by art and cultural exposure would be enough to fix whatever was broken about men? Because I'll tell you something. If I thought the nature of a given human was broken, I wouldn't put too much stock in fixing it with art. Art can do a lot of really amazing things, and culture can do a lot of really amazing things. But if someone is so fucked in the head that they don't have a gynocentric preference, despite being born to women, and usually in the case of straight men, seeking romantic relationships with women, then they are fucked enough in the head that no amount of cultural woo is going to learn them out of it. Sorry.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, for all the stuff Dawn was saying about people liking their mothers, unpack all that shit, Freud.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. Okay. McGregor continued, misogynistic movies are often extreme. They rape, they beat women, and it is legitimate to represent people like that because they exist and they are obviously the worst. Okay?
No particular arguments there, although I do think that they might be a little bit overrepresented. i.e., we see them a lot more in movies than we should, given how many of them actually exist.
Okay. He then stated, but in the Birds of Prey dialogues, there is always a hint of everyday misogyny. Of those things you say as a man you do not even realize. Mansplaining. All it's in the script in a very subtle way. I found that brilliant. Don, before you do, because I know you're going to say something, I have one single thing to say to you, Mr. McGregor. Ow.
What happened?
Slam my fist against the desk.
You okay?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm just worried if I broke my desk. It's made out of I'm not that strong. It's made out of like really cheap wood.
Well, to be fair, if I hit something like that, I would be more concerned if I broke my hand. And I have a high enough pain tolerance that I probably wouldn't notice if I broke my hand So
You're made out of glass. No offense.
Well, pretty much. Not quite osteogenesis imperfecta levels. I'm not Mr. Glass, but my bones are brittle. The only consolation I have is that I can take pain like a motherfucker. So even if someone were to break my back, there's a good chance I wouldn't feel it for a good few minutes. Which can also be kind of a pain in the ass when you randomly skin your knee and don't notice until there's a trail of blood leaking behind you. Which has happened to me more times than I care to remember.
Yeah, so did you have anything to say?
Remind me what he said that
Right.
to hurt yourself.
Mansplaining.
Okay, Ewan. The phrase everyday misogyny presupposes that misogyny is a common enough event to be everyday. That is an extraordinary claim given all the things we just went through there. Given the natural predisposition of people to love women, the idea of everyday misogyny is an extraordinary claim, which requires extraordinary evidence, Mr. McGregor. And I'm sorry, but people with competence, assuming a lower level of competence on the part of the layman, is not a gendered phenomenon. Go to any university and talk to any professor about their particular area of specialization. I would say there's about a 50 to 60% chance that at some point in that explanation you were going to be consented to like a motherfucker. Because people with expertise tend to be very confident and very snarky about that expertise. Granted, there are some professors who are humble as fuck and who would just love to share their knowledge and information. Those are awesome professors. But for every one of those, there's at least 5 condescending pricks who spent too long in academia and will condescend to literally every motherfucker. Because they can assume, with relative confidence, that the average person knows less about their chosen field than they do. This is not a gendered phenomenon. And the reason why it may happen circumstantially more to women is because women are sheltered. Because again, most of the actual misogyny in the world, or most of the actual sexism in the world, is of the benevolent variety, of the variety of, let's protect this woman from X thing. And when X thing is the trials of academic rigor, we assume that the women in question often don't have the knowledge because they weren't exposed to the knowledge, because our society very much places a premium on not exposing women to harmful or dangerous shit. The problem being, most of the awesome shit in the world is risky and possibly dangerous. Most of the knowledge that is worth having is also sometimes risky. Therefore, we assume that women are less educated unless they can demonstrate otherwise, because our culture protects women more than it protects men from dangerous shit. Because to be a man, you need to do things. You can't just be a thing. You have to demonstrate that you're worthwhile regardless. Now, there's an argument to be made that in doing so, we are actually performing a service to men, because being able to do things is better than just being able to exist. But that's the reason why. We don't give men any value unless they can pull their weight, unless they can show they're worthwhile in some reason. Women, on the other hand, don't have to demonstrate shit. They can just ride on the wave, I'm a woman, therefore give me shit. Because we love women as a species and as a society. And just about every society on the planet loves their women in some way. The only thing that differentiates us from the Middle East is we have more resources and more cultural infrastructure. If all electricity stopped working tomorrow and reduced us back to the third world, I can guarantee you would see a rise in traditionalistic social norms. Because in a case where women might be in danger, we value women's safety and protection very often more than we do their liberties. However, when a civilization becomes successful, the first thing it does is give more liberties to women if it can afford keeping up the values that are already bequeathed to women. I.e., we will never give liberties to women if it will sacrifice their protection. But if we can protect women and also allow them to experience liberties, that is the first thing we will do as a species. In every civilization, this happens. Moving on. I'm assuming Brainstormer left to get something. And yeah, he just texted me the BRB. So let's see. What to sing? Winds in the east, mist coming in, like something is brewing, about to begin. Can't put my finger on what lies in store, but I'd say what's to happen, all happened before. Let's see. "9 o'clock on a Saturday, the regular crowd shuffles in. There's an old man sitting next to me,
I'm back.
making just okay, cool.
Yeah, sorry, I had to find a screwdriver. I accidentally knocked a screw off out of my desk and hit it.
Hmm.
It's an old desk. I'm not that strong. Don't make any perceptions about me. Oh, God damn it.
I'm going to make perceptions of you regardless, because again, if I hit a desk like that, I would be bleeding, and you are definitely not bleeding. So you are at least significantly stronger than me.
Also, I got some milk and cookies. All right. Where was I?
Every
Look,
game
I was
allows
gone
me
for
to
like
make points.
4 or 5 minutes, and when I came back, you were still talking.
Yeah.
All right.
I had just transitioned into the singing to fill that air. thing I do. So yeah.
Yeah, I figured. All right. Where was I? Ah, okay. Okay. Given the repetitive nature of McGregor's comments, it's almost as if these are talking points coming from either Warner Brothers or at least the Birds of Prey producers. Unfortunately, it bodes ill for Birds of Prey's box office.
See, now here I disagree with the person from Bounding into Comics,
John,
because this is assuming conspiracy where simple incompetence and wrongheadedness will suffice. Like, it doesn't have to be talking points from Warner Brothers. It just has to be something that the creatives of Birds of Prey agreed upon, and that Ewan actually believes enough, at least, to continue bringing up. And given that the majority of Hollywood seems to believe this shit, I think him sincerely believing this shit on some level and having talked about it to the creators behind the film, as well as internalizing it within himself, is more likely than Warner Brothers literally paying him to make an absolute tit of himself. Because he is a member of Hollywood, and the majority of Hollywood does, on some level, believe this shit, even if it's just surface level shit. Most normies, as in normal people in society who don't really think about this, probably still believe that the reason why women didn't have the right to vote is because at some point in the past we hated women, when in actuality it's because it was men who had the responsibility to do public life, and therefore women didn't feel like they wanted that responsibility for the most part. It was essentially, why would we want the vote? We can just tell the men what to do and they'll do it. And also we have other shit going on. Still trying to fix the desk you accidentally smashed there.
Yeah, okay. Other films who have used this type of marketing tactic failed abysmally at the box office. Most recently, Charlie's Angels only earned a reported $70.3 million at the global box office and only $17.8 million at the domestic box office. This film reportedly had a $48 million production budget. The marketing of the film saw star Kristen Stewart describe the movie as woke. Elizabeth Banks would also blame men for the film's box office figure a week before it was even released in theaters. She stated...
We covered the Charlie's Angels fiasco as well, I believe.
Yeah, that was it's just there for the article. If this movie doesn't make money, it reinforces the stereotype in Hollywood that men don't go to see women and do action movies. Oh, I'm sorry. Terminator 2, Kill Bill Volume 2, Wonder Woman.
The most recent Halloween, where Laurie was the main character and kicked the ass of
Kick-Ass.
Any adaptation of Nancy Drew. Let's see. Murder She Wrote, which was back in the fucking 70s, I think, was when that started. The novels of Agatha Christie, which is one of the most famous writers ever. Harry Potter was written by a woman, and nobody turned their nose up at that. The Hunger Games, pretty much every YA novel-oriented thing with a female protagonist, as generic as they may be. Twilight, 50 Shades of Grey. Need we go on?
Well, action movies.
Well, yeah, okay, fair enough. I branched out into movies in general there for a second, but you get my point.
Come on.
There are female-centric franchises. There are women in male-centric franchises, and there are women in just about every variety of movie that you can imagine. Not to mention the overrepresentation of women in romantic comedies that people have been seeing for freaking ever. And there will always be movies with women in them that men like and that everyone likes, because men don't generally see things as a men versus women issue. Men are just honestly blank humans in most of their estimation. I.e., when I like something, I don't go, I like this because it's, masculine or manly. I like it because it's good on its own merits.
Oh, hey, Princess Leia.
Yeah. Princess Leia, Princess Buttercup from A Princess Bride. One of the best fantasy movies ever made, by the way, Princess Bride. And even though Buttercup is the most bland character in that movie, which has nothing to do with her being a woman, and everything to do with her character just being kind of bland. Because the miracle worker's wife there was also a woman, and she was awesome. So there. Moving on.
Terminator Dark Fate also went woke and subsequently bombed at the box office. The film earned only $250 million globally and only $62.2 million at the domestic box office. It reportedly had a $185 million production budget.
Mm-hmm. And for anyone that doesn't know, the standard rule is whatever your production budget is, you want to double in order to be successful. Because at least double of your, or at least equal to your production budget is usually spent on the advertising of big movies. So if you make a movie for $80 or $80 million, then the total spent on the movie with advertising included is going to be close to 160, and so on. You alright there, Brainstormer?
Yeah, I'm trying to screw in a screw. It's righty tighty, lefty loosey, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just checking.
You are correct. That is the childhood colloquialism that everyone knows.
I almost got it. Worst part is it's one that connects to the bottom of the desk, so gravity's not on my side.
So right now you're wanting to scream, "Screw this screw."
At the moment, right now, as it just dropped, yes.
I apologize for my pun coming into fruition there.
All right, but back to the article. Dark Fate director Tim Miller decided to crap on fans while answering a question about fan reaction to the film's trailer at San Diego Comic-Con. Sorry. All right. If you're all enlightened, she'll play like gangbusters. If you're closed-minded, if you're a closet misogynist, she'll scare the fuck out of you because she's tough and strong but very feminine.
Yeah, Tim, you made Deadpool. Can you try being a little bit more open with edginess rather than being a moralistic prick?
Plus, Dark Fate, if I remember correctly, doesn't do anything original or new.
No, it just rehashes T2 again, because that's all Terminator sequels can do, apparently. Either completely screwing up the lore entirely or just rehashing Terminator 2 again.
Almost got you, son of a bitch.
I'm enjoying your reactions to this very despondent piece of furniture. Just don't
You
you'll
motherfucker.
be there all night trying to fix it.
God, it's frustrating when you have to hold it up and then try and screw with just one hand. I'm so glad.
Well,
I feel like Corrupt would make a joke there.
I'm just gonna let that linger in the air because apparently Brainstormer has difficulty screwing with one hand.
God damn it. Corrupt's not here, so you take his place.
If I didn't do something in there, I would. What? You dropped it again?
Whatever. I'll handle it later.
At least it diffused the masturbation joke, and also phrasing.
What do you think of McGregor's comments? Do you think Birds of Prey will join the growing list of woke films bombing at the box office? It did.
Since this was a couple days ago, I can confirm that yes, it did very much join, or it at least is on track to join that list of films, because it only made 33.3 million domestic and around 48 million worldwide, for a total of 81 million worldwide.
Yeah, flashlight.
Oh, okay. Wait, you're trying to do this in the dark?
No, it's just it dropped into the shadows of the desk, so I need to.
Okay.
Why the fuck would I do it in the dark? Who's that dumb?
Well, I never know with you because you do kind of live in a condemned building, so I don't know if your lights were not working or something.
Okay, I am back. So I literally just watched Birds of Prey. So our next topic is a review of Birds of Prey.
Mm-hmm. Which I did not pay money for, but I have seen.
Yeah, he pirated it. Wait, should I say that on YouTube?
Like anyone who's going to see this hasn't pirated at least one movie in the past, or at least
I've never done it.
Yes, but you are a wonderfully innocent individual there, Brainstormer.
Who the fuck is it? But yeah, so I watched it today around 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Lasted for about, I got out at around 3:30.
Wait, are you still in the Eastern Standard Time Zone? I thought you were in the Central Time Zone.
Yep. It's one state over, I believe.
Okay. Okay, so you guys are right close to Ohio then, must be.
Nope. I'm near Illinois.
Okay, that's odd.
Apparently I'm close enough to the Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that movie's fresh in my head. Overall, it's a pretty meth film to give general oversight to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there you are, you son of a bitch. Right next to my sickle.
Which you have. And
It's a toy. It's a prop from a Halloween costume years ago.
get a real one, just to say you have one, honestly.
Yeah. All right. I got the screw. But yeah, Birds of Prey was a pretty meh film overall. I didn't have any, because I think I've been made it pretty clear on how I judge a film, if it's really good or not.
Mm-hmm.
If it invokes some emotional reaction from me, right? Whatever that may be.
Mm-hmm.
And the only real reaction it got out of me was a little squeamishness from like some of the rated R moments, like from the blood and guts and kind of bone breaking and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Which, as I mentioned while we were off air, I find extremely ironic, considering that appears to be our approach to dealing with things.
Well, punching people. Hey, there's a difference between punching people and seeing a man explode into bits.
This is true. Honestly, if I were truly pissed off at somebody, I probably would not be satisfied unless they were exploding with a grenade. So, there's that.
I would be fine with just punching them in the face.
True, but also
You're more darker than
me. Yeah, there's that, and also if you punched somebody, you would actually hurt them. If I punched somebody, they would laugh.
I'm laughing now. Fucking bitch. All right. So, do you want to start with specifics? Oh wait, actually, so I have a story to tell because
Okay.
when I went there, there's like only, including me, there's only like 20 people
Mm-hmm.
in the theater. During the previews, which is like one of my favorite moments when going to the theaters,
Mm-hmm.
there was a prologue kind of short film for an upcoming movie, Tenet.
Mm-hmm.
That 5 to 10 minutes was more exciting than the entirety of Birds of Prey, and made me excited to go see the new Chris Nolan movie coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a trailer made me more excited than an entire movie. Do you want to start with going into the movie? Spoilers, by the way, folks.
Okay, so thing one that I have an issue with Birds of Prey, irrespective of any of the feminist shit, which is shit, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. They recycled at least part of the Man of Steel thing where they told the story out of order because reasons. Granted, the reasons here are a little bit more sensible in the sense of Harley Quinn is a scatterbrain and she's the one narrating. But as a general rule, unless there is a purpose to telling a story out of order, it pisses me off when stories are told out of order. Especially because we spend like 15 minutes of the movie doing nothing but sitting with Harley looking for a sandwich that she likes. Which admittedly is a pretty funny scene, but it's like 15 minutes in the first act of the movie when we should be like dealing with character and shit. And then it completely turns out to be irrelevant. Or almost entirely irrelevant. So, yeah.
And I dropped the screw again.
I will restrain myself from making a joke about how screwed you currently are, but
And I lost it.
you still have the flashlight though, right?
I'm looking for it right now and I do not see it. Fuck my life. Anyway, yeah, honestly, I never really saw the feminist stuff. I'd have to go watch it again, like someone point this shit out to me. mostly.
Hmm.
Yeah, I had no reaction to it mostly. I was just like blank face most for the movie.
Giving that expression that probably scared other people in the theater from what you told me.
No, no one really paid. I was in a movie theater. Lights were dim. No one saw my face. But yeah, no, the movie it's meh. Like there's nothing to it. And again, yeah, I have to agree with Dalton. Like the movie is so all over the place that I mean the story's not hard to get, but everything else, everything that's has to make a film, isn't there.
Hmm.
Not a Birds of Prey movie.
No, because Oracle is nowhere to be found, and Huntress gets almost no screen time, and Black Canary gets almost no screen time, and Cassandra Cain. You
That's
better
not.
take.
No, that's not Cassandra Cain.
Hmm.
I might have to get a power drill. So a screwdriver. Find a fucking screw. Anyway, what other aspects could we go into without like diving into? Oh, right. I do like the technical aspects of the movie, like how it's shot and stuff.
Yeah, like it's very pretty garbage, is how I would describe Birds of Prey. Because
Yeah,
it's very pretty, but I defy you to give it 5.
yeah. I like how Gotham looks. It something I always say. It has this neon kind of noir look to it. It's like Suicide Squad, but better.
Yeah,
Granted,
this
that's not saying much.
yeah, this is definitely the better version of Suicide Squad. But given that the bar for Suicide Squad was, engraved in the crust of the earth, that's not very hard to do.
Yeah. That's gonna bug me. And soundtrack wasn't bad. Oh, for the record, I saw it. I forgot to mention. I saw it in IMAX, not IMAX 3D, just regular IMAX.
Hmm.
Super fucking loud.
Yeah.
There was like one song I liked a lot, which was like near the end, like at the beginning of the third act, right before the big battle,
Hmm.
which was "Take Your Best Shot," like a cover of it. It was very like, it was just different, It was different from everything else. I do wish that the score was implemented more, like the actual score, which was held by a very good composer that Daniel Pemberton, who did Into the Spider-Verse and Guy Ritchie's King Arthur movie.
Yeah. Which was not very good, by the way.
It wasn't, but I like the soundtrack of it.
Well, Guy Ritchie is always great at style, regardless. But
Mhm.
yeah, his King Arthur movie left a lot to be desired. He needs to go back to making a Sherlock Holmes movie. I want that third Sherlock Holmes movie. God damn it!
Yep. Yeah. Should I go into the aspects of? Well, okay. So the basic plot of the movie, because we didn't do that, is Harley Quinn is on the run because she publicly announces that she and the Joker broke up. And before, she had immunity because she was Joker's girl. But now,
Not so much anymore.
yeah, and everyone's after her.
Yeah.
Um,
for various stupid reasons usually. Some of which are legitimate reasons that I suspect the movie is trying to frame as though they're illegitimate reasons, and some reasons are just joke reasons. Like, one of the reasons Black Mask doesn't like her apparently is she voted for Bernie. And speaking as a Bernie Sanders supporter, I'm not sure what that's trying to say. Are they trying to make Harley Quinn sympathetic by making her like Bernie? Or are they trying to make Bernie unsympathetic by associating him with Harley Quinn? Or both? Or are they just so incompetent that they don't realize what they're doing?
I think you might be reading a little too much into it, and I just took it as a dig at Sionis not being a Bernie supporter. Which makes sense because he's the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. But at any rate, yeah.
Right. There's also the subplot that Kate Kane, not Kate, Cassandra Kane, or Cassandra Kane. I'm using air quotes, by the way.
Yeah.
Steals a diamond from Roman Sionis, which apparently has the bank numbers engraved into it.
Yep.
Which is a thing.
For the Bertinelli family fortune, which of course is Huntress's family.
Yep. And she eats it.
So a sizable portion of the movie is people playing catch with Cassandra Cain so that she can take a shit. And they can get their hands on the diamond.
Well, granted, Roman Sionis was fine with gutting her open.
True. So yeah, he wasn't really planning on waiting for her to shit. But for the most part, gutting and dismembering notwithstanding, they're waiting for her to crack out the diamond that has a fortune engraved in it.
Yep.
Worst heist movie ever.
Yeah, God, that is so stupid. And, wait, did you already bring up that they tried to do the kind of Memento style storytelling?
Yes, I brought up the out of order storytelling.
Right.
It is, yes.
Sorry. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention.
You've been busy screwing yourself. Yeah. Zing.
Really, man? How were we friends?
I don't know. It happened and it kept happening, and for whatever reason you haven't pounded my face in yet. Feel free to at any time. I probably deserve it.
Anyway, besides like the visual style and some of the camera work, everything else is mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess since I'm the guy who mostly focuses on the actual storytelling,
proceed to Spurg.
I dislike the pacing of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Because it brushes over pretty much every character except Harley. It gives you a little bit, but not enough to really care about them. I had no connection to any of these characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and anyone who is not Harley Quinn or Black Mask in this movie has hardly any screen time.
Yep. Oh yeah. Speaking of which, there are good things I liked, obviously, about the movie. The soundtrack is one of them. Well, one part in particular. and Ewan McGregor as Black Mask. Not the character itself, and not the stupid subtext they tried putting in with the character, but just Ewan McGregor's performance itself. He's funny, but he's also terrifying in moments.
Yeah, he's really giving it his all. It's too bad that his all apparently is playing a misogynist, thereby making the entire movie a farce, because that is a ridiculous thing for a character to be motivated by, period.
But yeah, for those two things, are pretty much the only things I liked. Well, filmmaking a little bit, sure.
Yeah.
3 things. Everything else, go fuck itself.
Yeah.
Well, no. Mostly everything else is mediocre or just meh to me. There's like one thing I absolutely hated, and I mentioned this to you, Dawn, before stream. But I'll get to that later. Do you have anything to say before I
Okay. First of all, I want to point out that you missed a massive opportunity by saying that this movie could go. Rather than saying this movie could go fuck itself, you should have said this movie can go screw itself, because pun. But now that the pun portion of my brain has been satiated with that, yeah, this movie is bad. This movie is bad in a forgettable, mediocre way. So it's not even bad in an interesting, memorable way. The part of the movie that I actually laughed at the most was the Looney Tunes death scene for Black Mask. But, incidentally, as predicted, when we were talking about the trailers, Black Mask wears his black mask for, hardly even a third of the movie.
Barely 5 minutes, actually.
Yeah. So, I repeat what I said when we covered this in the trailers. Movie, you had one job, and that was make the character named Black Mask consistently wear a motherfucking black mask. And
Right.
you fail.
I will be honest, that death of Roman Sionis really made me just cringe. And not in like the way most people cringe, more in just like the gore of the cringe, like made me cringe.
You flinched from the sensation of the gore.
Yep.
Whereas I, being the darkly humored motherfucker I am, mostly found that scene funny because it was like a Looney Tunes death. And pro tip, writers, if the thing happening in your movie could easily happen to Wile E. Coyote, probably best not to make it the climax of your movie, or to play it for seriousness, which the movie kind of tries to do. If you're gonna make a Looney Tunes death in a comedy movie, make it funny, god damn it, and roll with the fact that it's funny.
Yeah. Sorry. So let's get on with like the thing I hated the most.
Proceed. Your show, dude.
The costumes.
Yeah. As we predicted when we were covering this in the trailers and in all the behind the scenes stuff, they're shit.
Like the only good one, barely, is Black Mask costume at the end.
And again, his eponymous Black Mask for all of 5 minutes.
Right.
Because movie, you had one job and you failed.
My biggest issue is that you can barely see the costume, and Ahsoka and Chrononaut are here finally.
Yeah. I see. Yes.
We're just reviewing Birds of Prey.
And incidentally, Chrono, I know you specifically asked me about Strange Academy. We covered the second trailer already, so if you're interested in seeing my thoughts, scroll back once the stream goes to live, or once the stream is no longer live. Yeah. But Birds of Prey sucks, like
So much.
bad, and it didn't even suck in the memorable "I will remember this for years to come" kind of way. It sucked in the "this movie is completely disposable and I hope it dies" kind of way. Fortunately, it seems like I'm getting my wish there because the movie is not doing so well at the box office.
Oh, and don't call us misogynist for bombing or anything, because I went there and I paid for a ticket.
I got my Jack Sparrow on because why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Yo ho,
I went to $22-23 altogether for that movie.
Which, to be fair, given that you went to an IMAX and you got the like commemorative cup thing, is probably fairly cheap. For
I'm a
an
member.
IMAX
Like
ticket.
I'm like one of those like Stubs members kind of guys.
Okay.
So yeah, just Black Mask costume, like the one at the end of the movie, bugs me on the sense that it doesn't have a style to it. Like it's like a maroon suit with a black mask.
And incidentally, every incarnation of Black Mask that I have seen either has him wearing all black to complement the mask, or has him wearing white to contrast the black mask. I've never seen him wear maroon in any comic ever. Now, granted, Black Mask isn't one of my characters, so maybe I'm missing something, but maroon is definitely not a color that I would associate with Black Mask. A white suit.
I've only ever seen him in the white suit, and I think that works perfectly.
Yeah. Because the whole point is essentially shock value of, look how posh and refined I can be, and I will still fuck you up.
Yeah. Right. So pacing of the story, kind of getting back to that, is that it moves too fast with all the other characters besides Harley, that you don't really get to have a sense of feeling with these characters. You don't really get to connect with them. You're mostly told stuff about them, but you don't really get it. You don't feel it. There's no connection. So anything that happens to them, you don't feel anything. You know? And that's my biggest issue, is that you don't care about I don't care about the characters.
They're cartoons in the worst way. Like, I'm all for something over the top and cartoonish embracing itself and being as cartoony as possible, but cartoons actually have considerable characters. Like, there's a reason why, 80, 90 years on, we're still talking about Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, and the like.
Yosemite Sam.
But these guys all, and of course you brought up Yosemite Sam, because I can imagine if you were the type of person to use guns, I imagine you being very similar to Yosemite Sam in a good way.
No, he's a villain. He's a villain in the Looney Tunes, and I think, like draw a comparison, Roman Sionis might be the Yosemite Sam of the Birds of Prey movie, or Elmer Fudd.
But probably Elmer Fudd because he was. I think he's a little too goofy to be the Yosemite Sam. But regardless, when I say this movie is cartoonish, I mean it in the negative sense, i.e., everything was hyper saturated, hyper colored, hyper paced, fast moving, soulless trash that doesn't bother with things like charm, character, compelling storytelling, character motivations of any particular description, etc., etc. It's the kind of trash that is put on in the 80s to sell toys, and not the good ones like Transformers or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but the off-brand ones like what the fuck were they? I can't remember what the off-brand Transformers were called.
GoBots.
Thank you. Yeah, this would be like the off-brand version even of GoBots. It's not Transformers, it's not GoBots, it's the off-brand bargain basement version of GoBots. That's the level of cartoonishness we're talking about with this movie.
Right. Is there anything else we can say? Oh, okay. So I remember this being like a thing people brought up like on Twitter and stuff. It's like it really divulged from the source material, right?
Yeah.
Now, that's sort of a mixed bag for me as more of a writer than anything. Because if you've seen my other channel's content, Brainstorm Pop Culture, go check it out.
Nicely shown, sir.
What I do there is like basically overglorified fan fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And I do rewrites from some movies and stuff. And I do change things, right? And sometimes it can be kind of drastic. So my thing is that I don't have an issue with them divulging from the source material. It's more of that they took nothing but the name of the title of the source material and some of the characters, but there's nothing else.
Yeah. They didn't adapt the IP, they used the name and used it as an excuse to tell whatever story they wanted. And dear Hollywood, the reason why the name has financial lucre and power at all is because people like the IP associated with it. If you're going to change shit just for the sake of changing shit, then no one is going to like your movie. Unless you can change shit to make it better. But if you start from the assumption that the original IP has no value and needs to be changed in order to be good, then you are going to create a travesty, which is almost inexorable.
Right. So yeah, and I will bring in an example of how to actually, because my thing is like when you're adapting, you're adapting source material, you can change things. I'm fine with you changing things, but the thing is you have to stay true to the core, to the essence of what you're adapting.
Mm-hmm. And also, you should avoid changes that don't present themselves. Like, if you change something because a certain thing cannot be done or a certain thing is not feasible, then that's one thing. Or if you change something to make storytelling more efficient or better in some way, that's another thing.
Yeah, that makes total sense. That's fine,
Yeah.
The reason why, and to kind of simplify.
But willful changing on the assumption that the original IP isn't worth anything or shouldn't be respected is bunk. It will always be bunk.
I mean, when you look back, Birds of Prey got its own TV series. Granted, it wasn't a great TV series, and it did divulge a lot from the actual comic, but it still had a big enough fan base for it to be adapted.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do agree with you. If anything, this movie should have been a Gotham City Sirens movie.
Or just cut out the extraneous characters altogether and make it a Harley Quinn movie.
Yeah. I get what it could have been, but I feel like it was lacking.
It was not that, yes. It was definitely not what it could have been. It was very much what it was, and that was shit.
So, speaking of like adapting stuff and like how I brought up that I do rewrites of movies and stuff, I started doing a rewrite of Birds of Prey. And I will talk a little bit about here, and then I'll just make the full thing on my other channel, like post it there.
You said it should be posted by Wednesday?
Yeah, I got a couple days off tomorrow and Tuesday, so I should be able to just spend some time working on that and record and stuff. So, yeah. Okay, so first off, I'm completely cutting out Harley Quinn. Yeah, it's a full rewrite. It's just doing my own thing. So, basic plot follows Cassandra Cain, who is tracking down the criminals known as Black Mask and Lady Shiva for murdering her father. So she's seeking revenge. As she tries to do this, the vigilante group known as the Birds of Prey take her in and try to talk her out of it. So yeah, you make Cassandra Cain, who would be a kind of a kid, or at least a mid-teenager at this point, the main character. Because I think that makes sense, because she'd technically be the audience surrogate.
Yeah.
Plus, this is Cassandra Cain, right? She's a pretty cool character from the comics. Not well known, mind you, but still a pretty cool character. Everything I've researched about her, at least. That's another thing. I feel like they didn't do a lot of research for this movie from the source material.
Or if they did, they took of it what they wanted and jettisoned the rest through an airlock.
Yeah. So yeah, that overall that would be the basic plot, and I would also, because knowing me, I do have some ideas of themes, even though I did write down theme is subjective. I would say the story probably revolves around the themes of revenge and what happens when you let it control you, as well as the difference between family and blood. So, and I will talk a little bit, because I have my own rendition of Cassandra Cain written up, and I will talk about the actual version of Cassandra Cain. I mean, there's not too much different. I mean, there's like a slight difference I had changed for this story for it to work. But in the comics, she is technically conceived to be the greatest assassin, because both her parents are like really good assassins. And she has this interesting thing where she's never learned to speak, because she was mostly trained to kill. Which I think is an interesting thing, mostly because for an acting standpoint, it requires more physicality in the performance. Anyway. She, from a very young age, she was actually trained. She actually killed a man like in single digits age as a test by her father, David Cain. And after that, she kind of really didn't want to be a killer anymore, and she kind of was taken in by Batman after a certain amount of time where she tried to kill the Bat family.
They try to kill you, you take them in and make them family. It's fine. It's totally a thing.
I mean, Damien's like that. I mean, he's more of a brat, but
Damien is one of the most insufferable twats in the history of comics.
even more so than Squirrel Girl.
Yes, because nobody, aside from maybe the SJWs, put much weight on Squirrel Girl. Like nobody thinks that if Squirrel Girl dies tomorrow, the world as we know it in comics comes to an end. But there are seriously people who will swear up and down by Damian Wayne.
All right. So Yeah, so she becomes a Batgirl for a time,
Mm-hmm.
then becomes a different persona called Black Bat, then Orphan. She doesn't really have the greatest relationship with her parents, mostly because they see as a way of using her, like as a tool or a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I do think she has a better relationship with her father since he's kind of the one who trained and raised her.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother, though, I haven't looked that too much into it. But yeah, she's a very complex and interesting character.
Mm. Joaquin won the Best Actor Oscar, by the way.
Congratulations for you and him.
Yes. Which means that Joker won one of the big five Oscars. So, yay! And the media that lost their fucking mind over this movie can promptly suck it.
Yep. So for my version of Cassandra Cain, sorry, eating a cookie.
Well, I'm watching the Oscars out of the corner of my eye so that I could keep track of this. So it's fine.
Yeah. She is a child of Gotham, growing up in the city's East End, which isn't the most well-off area of the city. But she had her father, David, with her, so it could have been hell and she'd still be happy.
Mm.
Since her family wasn't as well off as the others, she was homeschooled by her father, mostly being trained to defend herself. However, this intensive training and severe lack of social interactions from others left Cassandra mostly unable to speak or socialize.
Mm-hmm.
While a skilled fighter, she is horribly unsociable. This could mostly be attributed by her severe lack of communication skills and her really only knowing actions speak louder than words. When her father is killed by the mysterious Lady Shiva, Cassandra is filled with an undescribable rage, guided by revenge, trying to hunt down the lady that took away her only thing in the world that meant something to her. When meeting the Birds of Prey who take her in after her father's murder, she's very apprehensive about their help in stopping Lady Shiva because Cassandra wants blood. But as she interacts with each bird of prey, she might be trying to realize her thirst for revenge might be wrong and will only be about her own downfall.
Mm.
So I changed the relationship between her and her father. Mainly that her father tries to be a good person and an actual father for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you like how I changed the character of David King, who is the father of Cassandra, before Stream,
Mm-hmm.
making him more the compassionate parent than the mother.
Yeah.
And I realized that would trigger a lot of feminists for some reason. But I don't care because the story it makes more sense for the story.
Yeah. Because implying that women aren't good at something is an indictment of all women. Or an exaltation of men, and that's bad because something cultural power, something.
Yeah. So overall, the story is very much a character-driven story. Shocking, I know.
Brainstormer does something with character, lol. Must be a day that ends in Y.
Sarcasm over? Okay. So yeah, it follows her, but it also does focus on the other characters And I did have the idea that the characters were kind of somewhat like the Birds of Prey would represent different acts, different stages of like the grieving process for Cassandra.
Mm.
So you have Barbara Gordon, Oracle. Yeah, I'm keeping her in there. Huntress and Black Canary. Huntress was supposed to represent anger, which I think is like one of the first stages of the grieving process.
Yes.
I'm not entirely
Denial,
sure.
anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance is usually the order they go in.
I think Barbara was supposed to represent depression in some way. Because she's not like fully over what happened to her, being crippled by the Joker.
Yeah.
But she's getting there one day at a time. And Black Canary was supposed to represent acceptance. I'm not there yet, but that's what I had idealized for her. That she was supposed to be the most well-rounded of the three.
Yeah.
And yeah, and just like while Cassandra is still, so over the course of a single movie, Cassandra is kind of just realizing that it's not worth it. And I was also going to pull a Darth Vader with her and Shiva.
Yeah.
I
am your mother, etc.
Yep. I did want to keep Black Mask in there. I'm still trying to figure out why. Mostly, I think he would just want Cassandra to be like his next assassin or something, like his adoptive daughter or something, the groom. But yeah, that's basically my general idea for how I would have done a Birds of Prey movie. If it's good or bad or worse than the actual movie, whatever.
Although I really doubt that you could make something that was worse than Birds of Prey. So, someone who you were working with might have, but I don't think you ever would have. So when you become a famous enough author to have people adapt your work, be very careful of who you let adapt your work.
No, please. If anyone's making movies about my work, it's going to be me.
Well, yeah, but it's not like you can make a one-man movie. So just be careful who you let work with you when you adapt your work.
So yeah, I got nothing else to say about Birds of Prey. Otherwise, it was just like not a great movie. I mean, there's like this video essay that I told you about, like that I do not really agree with at all. But yeah, no, it's a meth film. It's got one or two aspects that are good, but it doesn't really save the rest of the film.
No.
It's a shame because there's potential there. I just don't think it was ever utilized.
No. What they wanted was basically an anti-Joker movie.
That's what they got.
And unsurprisingly, when you make the exact opposite of a really, really, really great movie that is probably going to go down in history as a classic, you get shit. And it bombs, or at least is close to bombing. It's only been out for a weekend so far, but I don't foresee it having some big rallying cry around it, honestly. I foresee it dying on its ass. And everyone in the media who had a personal vendetta against Joker will then go, why did Birds of Prey not do well? and then we will all laugh at them.
Mhm. All right, folks. So we would move on to comic recommendations, but I unfortunately haven't been able to read much due to work and stuff.
And I haven't read anything new in the last week or so. So
Yeah, we're sorry about that. We will. I'm sure we'll be able to do it next week.
Yep.
Well, actually, no. We will have a special next week.
Because we've been doing this for 50 fucking episodes as of next week.
That's never not going to be weird to say.
It's weird both because it seems like it should be longer, but also because it doesn't feel like we've been doing it that long. It's been so comfortable and automatic that it's just been like, yeah, this is just what we do. Every once in a while we get together and we talk shit about various things, and suddenly we have 50 episodes of a podcast that we've done together.
Yeah.
And we've known each other almost a year, and that's weird.
A treasure.
It is a treasure because most people, upon prolonged exposure to me, either want nothing to do with me or think that I'm pathetic in some way. So I don't know how you avoided either of those, but good on you, I suppose, for it.
But Chrononaut said missed opportunities for Birds of Prey, and yes, what is the cash take so far? Not entirely sure. I know.
The take so far is 33.3 domestic, around 48 million foreign, for a total of 81 million worldwide. For Birds of Prey.
All I know is that I have money in that. I feel ashamed that I say that.
Yes, 23 some dollars of
No, 22, 23.
22, 23 of your money has gone into the coffers of Birds of Prey.
Well, granted, most of that is the popcorn and drink.
Yes, which means it will go more to the theater than the movie.
I think it's either like $15 for the ticket or.
And for the record, movie studios only get to keep 60% of the money they take in as well, because they have to split it with the theater. So feel not too bad. All in all, you've only paid about $5 to Birds of Prey. Still $5 more than I have paid for it, because
don't rub it in.
I went all Jack Sparrow on that shit, but
yeah. All right. So yeah, folks, we will see you next week, and with that, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, auf Wiedersehen, sayonara, peace, cheers, and
shalom, yo ho, and fuck off.